To all that is disarranged, thanks for listening. This is your host and editor, Austin Blakely. I was just chiming in. I want to let y'all know that as we do this podcast, we're, learning and trying to make things better the best we can. And we had a file that was almost 2 hours of Nick's audio that corrupted, as things do sometimes. So we've done the best we can to try to pull what audio pulled up between my and Dylan's mic to see if we could bring Nick in. And then, of course, towards the end of the cast, we have his audio files. So please bear with us in this time. This cast was rather long and really productive with Dylan, so we didn't just want to ditch it. We wanted you to hear it, even if it's not up to our normal standards. So I appreciate the patience, and we've learned from it and learned how to get around it in the future. So, but anyways, here's your show. Thank you.
Hi, this is Dylan Joyce. Let's get disarranged.
Welcome to the Disarrangement, hosted by the two coolest cats around, Austin Blakely and Nick Branscombe. Prepare to get disarranged.
Come one, come all, for what rises and undulates in your ears is not for the faint of heart. Behold, it's the Disarrangement with your host, Austin Blakely, and co-host Nick Branscombe. How's it hanging, Nick? See, I got it right this time. How's it hanging, Nick?
Yeah.
I got it right this time.
Yeah.
So,
see, I never even noticed when you mess up. That's how good you are at covering up any mistakes. Because I'm like, Blakely's great at everything on this podcast, but apparently
I'm not.
You mess up at times.
Oh yeah, we all mess up. And see, that's the cool thing about having your own original anything is that nobody notices when you're messing up.
Yeah, if you debut a new song as a musician, play it for the first time in front of an audience, if you make mistakes on it, it ain't like they're gonna notice.
Yeah,
before.
They ain't gonna know. But so Nick, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Do you know when the shovel was invented?
The shovel.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's been a long time. I'm gonna say 62 BC.
I mean, I really don't know, but either way, it was groundbreaking. Okay. we
I actually thought this was a fact.
Oh, I delivered that one nice. I learned from Lucas. Well, I kept telling y'all last time that we was doing the dad jokes, and Needham kept getting me while we was on vacation. And I was like, how are they delivering? Because Lucas did it to us while we were on the podcast talking about it, and he still did it. Yeah. And I was just like, do I have to be a dad first? Or what? How do I do this?
Dad jokes.
Anyways, so we do have a special guest today. It is Mr. Dylan Joyce.
Hello.
How's it going, Dylan?
Very special guest. I appreciate it. It's someone good. Doing very good. You actually should look up when the shovel was invented. I mean,
I guess we can confirm that.
I mean, besides, if we don't use the Google, why don't we go and do it now? Get out of the way early.
I feel like Google's going to send me something some sort of snide bullshit just going, but it was great. Just give me the same shit.
Maybe Google has already whitewashed that answer. It's 1776 when the Declaration of Independence was signed. God damn it!
At the same time. At the same time.
Shovels will be given to all people for shoveling.
Shovel invented.
It had to be a long time ago, right?
1750 BC.
Oh man, I was in the
Dude,
right,
you were in the right
era.
millennia or whatever. That's
and
actually
evidently
good.
That's what it looked like, and it was. It kind of looks like a tooth on a stick.
Yeah. I don't guess you can really revolutionize the way a shovel looks.
Yeah, well, I guess as long as it dug, then that's all that mattered. Is that how you use that word, dug?
Dug, yeah.
As long as it dug.
Bodies.
As long as it dug. So Dylan, obviously we've got things we want to talk about today, but I think we should start off a little bit just with you kind of telling us about yourself, even though we know you pretty well.
Yeah, I feel like we all know
but let our listeners know who you are and all that good stuff.
Well, I'm Dylan Joyce, somewhere between 6'2", 6'3", 180 pounds, and that's.
He likes long walks on the beach.
Well, no, not really. I don't think I've.
Okay, he
I
doesn't
haven't been
anymore.
to the beach since.
Well, when we went
7
on
years
cruise,
ago, 8 years
baby,
ago. Oh,
you know,
yeah.
technically
That's a beach. That's fair.
He
yeah.
likes long walks on the poop deck.
On the poop deck. No, man, I think I'm a pretty generic white guy, actually.
You love hiking.
Hiking, video, any exercise, like in general, really. And then video games and sports, that's pretty much it. I mean, like basic white, like, you know, like when they make TV shows. Like
So you're just us. Or
Yeah.
at least me.
Well, when they get TV shows, they want like very like unique people. Like when they put them on there, then there's always like one really tall, handsome guy that fits that description. I'm like a downgrade of that guy. I'm a little. I'm a step below him.
Yeah, but you do other things too. You do other things too. So how do you keep yourself busy? Because I mean we know you do. Obviously, you just started up doing some graphic design. You've got podcasts of your own. You know,
I have had podcasts.
You have.
Right now, I'm on a hiatus from podcasts. I mean, I love doing them. Like, I mean, like I had much respect for when you guys wanted to start this. Like, trust me, I know how hard it is to try to grow and then to do it. I'd say you guys.
I'm learning.
You guys are doing a much better job as far as like the technology than what I had. Honestly, I kind of did a laptop and 2 half-ass mics, honestly. But like, I mean, dude, podcasting is like some of the most fun thing in the world. Like, even when no one's listening to it, just like you guys probably. This is the reason why I'm assuming you started, is because you guys had conversation that you felt was productive.
Actually, absolutely. That's literally long-winded but productive. Yeah. Like it was conversation that you feel like that you're not necessarily going to remember. You know, like there may have been productive things, but it was so long-winded that you got out so much information that you kind of forget what happened during the conversation. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a podcast is like a good way to kind of document or go back and go, do you remember that? Like when we were talking about that. And then I kind of want to see, like personally, just through the years, if this continues on for a long span of time, I want to see kind of how things have changed. Yeah. And what we're, you know.
Well, and, you know, kind of like when our good friend Austin Branch was on the podcast, the 3 of us have a long history, whether it's like me and Blakely or me and Dylan. You know, me and Dylan have known each other since we were like 3 years old. And we've been real, I guess like in that time growing up between then and about, you know, middle school, I don't know if we were like best friends. You know, we stayed at each other's houses a few times and stuff. It wasn't until about middle school, high school where we like really started to become really, really good friends. But you know, with both you and you know,
he means me and Dylan.
Yes, like me and Dylan used to have like we'd be up late at night. You know, when we would have our sleepovers and stuff like that, and we'd always say, dude, let's have a serious conversation.
Yeah, he always said, like, my favorite part of coming over is when we have serious conversations.
Yeah.
We were so stupid we didn't really know what to label it, but it was stuff like what you would do on a podcast. It was like a very adult-like thinking, and that's one thing that me and Nick always had in common, is we were always thinking about like next level future shit. Like as young kids, we didn't know how to really obviously do anything about it at the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, and that's what's so cool about podcasts in general is, like you said, I would love to see your reaction to your initial podcast in a year.
Exactly.
And get better at it. Because, like, when we did our movie review podcast, that was our most successful one we did. Me and my friend Brad. And I mean, like, it's simple as just, I thought that, like, I had a lot of interesting takes, like, when it comes to the way you should perceive movies, and I could explain things really well. And so, like, we kind of obviously put that into a podcast form. And, like, from the beginning, whenever we were starting, I mean, just like the difference in like how intelligent it sounded, I guess, which I don't want to sound like arrogant, because I mean, it's obviously just a movie opinion. It can only vary so much.
Yeah, but everybody has their onion, man. Like,
yeah, but like when we started, like I felt like everything was so basic, but then like towards the very end of it, I felt like I was getting smarter as I did it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's the way it's felt for me, like watching sports over
the
years. The more I watch sports, the smarter I get. Like I can see things that I couldn't see when I was younger. So it's like that with podcasting too. So like in like a year from now, when you look back at your first episode, you'll probably be significantly better at what you're doing in general. Like
that's part of the reason too why I like I want to have because for the listeners, me and Blakely, most of you probably know, we're musicians, we're guitar players and stuff like that. So it's really easy for us to just have a bunch of musicians as guests on the podcast, you know, but we pride ourselves on being a variety podcast. So I'm really big on wanting to kind of vary the guest. So, you know, one episode we might have a musician. The next episode, I might want to have an animal expert or something like that, you know, because I just want to...
Stay tuned is what he's saying.
Yeah, I just want to learn different stuff. So,
well, and I think that's why we've had such a kind of a variety of people already. You know, and obviously it's, you know, we grew up with Dylan. We grew up with Branch. I grew up with Needham, but you are very, very close to Needham now. So it's, we've had people close to us, and then we had Lucas, which you're very close to. I was kind of a long distance fan of Lucas. And, so it's people we know, but I will say we haven't gotten like there. It's not been like we've been talking to the same person by any means.
Right.
That was kind
when
of.
you have a conversation like this, it's never gonna be like that. Like nobody's actually the same person.
I love it, man.
Like in a
You get to
3-hour
know
span,
somebody,
yeah. But like in like
know.
a 20-minute conversation, yeah. I mean, it's gonna sound pretty similar because the
Consistent.
questions are gonna be like the same question. Like you just asked me to talk about myself. That's the same thing you did to start with Branches, right? It's like that's like the intro you're always gonna do. But if you only do like 20 minutes or 10 minutes, it's gonna always be pretty similar. But when you have like an extended conversation, even if it's the same topic over and over again, the difference of opinions from people naturally,
There's a little more nuance.
it's always
there.
gonna be variety, right?
But yeah, that's kind of why I was throwing it your way, just because if you've got, what's interesting in life right now, like what's fun that's like driving you to.
Dude, I'll follow up with what you were saying initially when you were introing me. I respect it. You're doing better than I did for myself. I mean, like, yeah, I recently got into graphic design. I mean, it's mostly me just trying to maximize my free time. And I mean, I don't think I'm particularly good at it yet. I'm getting better. Like I can see the progress in my work, especially if I'm inspired by what I'm doing. A lot of times, like I can tell I'm doing it just to stay busy. And I don't feel like what I'm doing is coming out as high quality. So I'm just trying to get better at that. And then, I mean,
trying to like regulate how much of yourself you're putting into something.
yeah, I mean, like when I have an idea, man, I can really fly off of it. Like I did like
That's
a
good.
little private logo I did for Nick just for fun, just like doing like a Looney Tunes thing with the Gibson SG, and I put
I saw that.
put like 6 or 7 hours into that, just really getting every detail of
Getting
if
it
you
right.
zoomed in on the Gibson SG, like I have it like crisp too,
Yeah.
like down to the fine details of what like his red SG looked like when we were growing up, because that was my like I didn't know anything about music. I still don't really now, but like I loved that guitar because it was beautiful to look at.
Yeah,
So,
I think that if there is one guitar that like everyone looks at Nick's collection and is like, they all know that's the one.
yeah, the red
Like
SG.
every single one of us is just like that's the one you would pick out of the lineup.
Yeah.
If you were gonna steal a guitar from me,
That's going to be the one.
Yeah.
And I think mutually, regardless of you being a musician or not, you're picking up on that for a reason.
Mm.
It's literally every music. I bet every musician that would look at his guitars, that's the one they would gravitate.
Well,
towards.
dude, like, and the reason I picked that's because it was the one. Like growing up, that was like when I
It's
when
the
I remember
one.
Nick playing. Like when I used to go to all the shows, like the little gigs with like me and like just our friends would be or stuff like that. Like that's what I remember. And I mean, so to me, like in a way, it kind of brings us together too. Because I remember all the freaking car rides to like middle of Mountain Area or somewhere,
Yeah.
just doing like a coffee shop gig with this 4 people in it, or like just people. Me and him would be the only ones that knew each other, stuff like that. Like
Yep. Hauling
so, like-
$2,000 worth of gear.
yeah,
to
so like.
a $50 gig.
The unfortunate thing is that that's still a reality sometimes.
Well,
playing in front of 4 people and stuff.
Well,
especially
there's
different
no way to
things.
get out of like it's so hard to get noticed in a field that's so populated. So
Yeah, it's hard.
that's naturally gonna happen. But so like I'm doing that just like it's. I don't want to say I'm doing it for fun because I am taking it very seriously. Like I have like a 2D character project that I'm really trying to work on where like I'm making
Okay.
a lot of variety of people and stuff like that. Just a lot of based off my friends and just ideas that I have. And like I don't know if I want to turn that into like a trading card game like in NFT form.
Oh, that would be
or
awesome.
If I want to like turn into like an anime thing, I don't know what I'm gonna do with that eventually. But like to me, the value of having a character base that is interesting, like, is pretty big. Like I've already built backstories for a lot of them that like I have them like on OpenSea.com, which is an NFT selling website,
Yeah.
and like I have the backstories to each of the character on there, and like every single one that I see, just like that I've made up with, that I've had this story in my head, it just like I could do something with it if I really try. So like, that's
Yeah.
the thing is like.
That's a neat concept, though.
No,
That's
like,
a really neat
I
concept.
mean, I don't know what I'll do with it. Maybe nothing comes out of it, but at least it's better than like just sitting there. Like I get up at 5 a.m. every day, even if it's like my day off. Like
Yeah.
or like if I close that night and I'm gonna be there till Christmas.
Is that just a habit? Like,
Well, I
is that
about-
forced?
well,
Like,
no, it's forced. It's like
Okay.
about 8 to 9, maybe 10 months ago, I really started this like idea of like do things you don't want to do to like train your brain
okay.
to not make excuses to why you can't do stuff. And like that'll lead into probably like the mental health stuff we'll talk about later, but like to just keep it on top of that. So like that was why I started getting up early.
Or you're
what-
challenging yourself in things that you think you can't do.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, just things
Yeah.
I don't want to do. I know, but I mean, dude, it's so convenient. Like we have a new bed, bro. Like, we got a new bed with our wedding money, and like it's
Oh
really
yeah,
nice
and
to
our boy just got married to. Well, that's
in
been
October.
a little bit.
It's been a little bit. It's still fresh.
Yeah, it's still fresh.
But like with that
It's
wedding
still
money,
something to
we got a
celebrate.
new bed, man, and like I would love to just like stay on my pillow in the bed, but I mean,
Yeah, sounds like something I do.
but like so to discipline myself on that, I started getting up early, but then Rebecca doesn't get up till like 7 or 8 some days because she works late at the hospital, and I'm not gonna ask her to do what I'm doing. So like I'm
Yeah.
sitting there for 3 hours a lot of times, maybe before she gets up, and like most of it's just watching TV. I mean, I'll do my workout in the morning sometimes. Now that I have a
Yeah.
puppy, I can't really do it as much because he'll try to like bite the shit out of my ankles while I'm doing it. Or if it's like Sunday, I
Gotta
can't
love the dogs.
I can't do my kickboxing workout on Saturday or Sunday because it's so loud it'll wake up Rebecca, and then also the neighbors at 5 a.m. don't want to wake up to hearing, rattling like from the neighbors. So like, I try to have a courtesy to that, but no, like so that's why I was like thinking, because me and Nick have had like a lot of ideas, and Nick's been a lot better because he knows skills and has things that I like his camera, for example. Like, he never wanted to be a photographer, but he had an idea and had a resource like teaching
And
guitar.
it's working.
Yeah,
and I think that's a great example because I never would have pictured Nick getting into that field, but
Maybe a
he
little
went
bit,
head
yeah.
first and just learned everything he can, and he's doing it.
No, that's
you
what's
know?
valuable about learning skills in general, like playing the guitar. Like, so like I spent my whole like high school life learning about sports, right? But I was never good at sports really. Like I was better than the average. I was better than the average person, but I wasn't good. Like compared to other good people, I was dog
I just
shit.
don't have the mentality for it. I love watching sports, but I've just never like everybody wanted me to play football in particular. I know I'm short, but I would have been a decent lineman probably, at least in high school.
You didn't play at all, not even in middle school?
No. Everybody tried to pull me into it, like, and I just don't have that mentality to like someone. I mean, I typically take myself out of situations where it's just like someone's like physically making me that angry to want to. I wouldn't have the heart to do it. Like I would let someone run all over me. Like that's exactly what I do.
Like the pain, like if you were a defensive lineman and a running back was coming at you.
Yeah, if it comes to a point of like trying to hold somebody back or something like that, I got to be really pumped. Like, so what I mean is like that's typically when someone is like trying to assault me or something like that. Like I've only been in that situation a couple times, and I don't have to give you an example. I don't fight fair. Like if I get in a fight with somebody, I don't fight fair. Like I'll go for any bit. It don't matter what it is.
Right.
There is no pride that I have in myself that is going to prevent me from doing what I want to accomplish. So like I'm not opposed to like hitting someone in the nuts. I'm not opposed to choking you to death. I'm not I'm serious. Like, so yeah, seriously. I mean, whatever gets it done. That's what I'm saying. Like it doesn't matter to me. So, but I kind of get it though. Like if you wanted to, regardless of how much you like the sport, if you have drive to do it, I guess. Is that what it is? Or?
Well, so that's the thing is like, as a kid, I thought I was like pretty good, and cause like when you weigh yourself to the people around you, a lot of times you're putting yourself in a crowd of people that aren't that talented. So like here's my and like I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it's
You're
like
in a fishbowl.
Like I was better than like the majority of people we probably went to school with, other than like basketball team play or stuff like that, for example. But like if I went
Someone
up
who's
against,
doing that like constantly every
but like
week.
I played it like on the weekends or at the YMCA with my friends, and then would go eat like terrible food. Didn't take care of myself, my body didn't work out.
I'm still doing that.
Very dedicated in terms of basketball because when the house that he grew up in, you had a basketball goal like outside your backyard, but it was literally on like just a big patch of dirt, and it wasn't level. There were rocks all in the way.
Roots from the trees and stuff.
From the trees, but we would be out there. We'd be out there shooting for hours.
And we played a lot. I mean, like, but if I were to pretend or like lie to myself and say that I was dedicated like that, I mean, I would be being very disingenuous. Like, honestly, I played a lot. But there's a difference between playing and like actually working. Like when you put in the level
you're
of
having
work,
fun, not necessarily.
It's not fun to work hard.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, it's not. And like that was the difference. But like I don't regret that. But it's like what I was gonna parlay to what I was saying. Like Nick had a skill, right? And like so, what Nick could do playing guitar allows him into different channels of life to what he can generate revenue from.
Oh yeah.
Like
absolutely.
being an amateur basketball player doesn't make any money, right? Or like knowing about like what I know about like football.
It could, depending on what you figure out.
I mean, yeah, but the
just-
problem is like what he can do is a lot more imaginative than what I realistically could do. Like, so knowing about sports and stuff like that isn't going to benefit me. Like being an average video game player, like I'm like, well, I would say I'm better than the average person, but I'm still not great compared to like other great gamers, right? So it's like
Yeah.
it's not going to benefit me for that. So
I wouldn't say that. I definitely have to agree on the gaming. You can be shit at video games and make money off of it.
if you're a
nowadays.
streamer, right? But of
yeah,
course,
you
like
can figure that out. You know, all you got to do is build an audience. If
oh
they
no, like
you,
streaming
you
is
know?
right up my alley because I don't think I'm traditionally funny. I think I'm funny like and it's like in situations. So like
Yeah,
if you like put me on
situational humor.
Warzone, I could really like parlay off that. The problem is I just don't have like the technology for it right now, but I would be very interested to do it. And if I ever got like, you know, the technology to do it, like I definitely would because it's built for me. Like that whole genre is built for me to see. And just like
Well, maybe that's the
podcasting.
maybe we discover the next Dylan thing.
I mean, maybe. I mean, like, well, I mean, like that's the thing is like I want to get back into podcasting too. Like podcasting's for me. Like I'm just a small town like kid, like just like all of us really.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything like magical about the stuff that I say, but I feel like I'm such a good speaker that this is like the avenue where I could generate revenue. Like I wanted to like be on the news like growing up. I wanted to do the sports guy on the news or like an
Okay.
anchor. But the problem is like all the travel that's involved in trying to move up in that field. Me being an only child,
It's
I really
difficult,
held
man.
myself back. But another thing is like I was probably just scared to an extent too. Like it's really easy to quit before you fail, and like that's been
Yeah.
like a major thing of like my life like until like recently where it's like even with podcasts like I mean like we didn't quit the movie review podcast because like it wasn't working. We did that because COVID ruined it. Like the movies that
Yeah,
really
unfortunately.
we needed movies to come out in theaters. Like we were doing like movies on Netflix that you might not have ever heard of, or like we were doing movies that came out, but the episodes that we would get hundreds of
You needed
downloads
material.
on, yeah, are the blockbuster movies. 'Cause that's what people want. So it's
You
like
need
that's what
material.
ruined that. But like I did a sports podcast for a brief amount of time, and because I was getting like little viewership, it was just family and friends. I was like really demotivated, but also my work schedule wasn't very convenient with it. But admittedly, I could have made it work if I tried harder. And then we were doing, you know, a self-help.
Well, at least you're realizing stuff like that. You're
Well-
realizing it's like, okay, with that part of the
Mm-hmm.
that sports podcast, it's not necessarily because of your viewership. It's not necessarily because you were doing the wrong thing. It's more or less that you know that you could have tried harder or pushed harder
100%
to do something if you really wanted
Dude,
to.
objectivity is
You know.
very lost among not just our generation, just the world right now, man. It's really tough for people
You ain't kidding.
to look in the mirror and just be honest with like the real things that are like wrong with what you're doing like every day. So it's like that's one thing like I've tried to get better as I've got older is like just making sure that I'm very aware of what like when I'm the problem. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
like
I get that a lot.
Like,
Where
so-
it's just like understanding a situation and trying to understand everybody in that situation's point of view
mhm.
to let you know that'll let you know real quick if you're the problem. I've found out, just me personally, like if I can understand where someone else is coming from and how that relates to me, sometimes I can go, damn, I was the asshole in that situation. Like, and realize it, like, right then and there and go, I need to apologize. Like,
Totally.
um,
Well, having that now is what really allows me to be so honest about like how much of a loser I was like coming out of high school. Like I had no skills.
I wouldn't say that.
No, I mean it's just honest. Like I had no skills. Like what's up with Nick? Like I'm so proud of what Nick's been able to do with like what he had. Like he had a skill that he could like use in the real world essentially. I mean like there's not some giant market of people that want to learn guitar honestly, but it's like something that he can make money doing. But like
Well, I will say this too. I mean, and even like you were just talking about getting out of high school and not having anything to go to or whatever. Even me, you know, I started playing guitar in middle school, and even then, you know, for the longest time, I didn't realize the potential that I could have. You know, I just you know wanted to be a rock star.
yeah.
I mean, I never cared too much about, and I think I even touched on this on the last podcast, but I never really cared much about trying to be like super precise or just an incredibly great player musically when the first few years I started. I knew that I had a talent for it. You know, I just always was, I don't know if lazy is the right word for it, but I mean, I just wanted to play rock shows and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah. It
But-
sounds like your focus was in a different area.
But as I got older and out of high school, then that's when I really started trying to get my chops up, and then even in the later parts of high school, I had started playing like acoustic gigs, like you said, like coffee shops and stuff. But like I didn't care about. I wasn't looking at the bigger picture then. I wasn't like trying to make a bunch of money or anything like that. As to where now it's like, I do these things because it's my job. It's not that, and I really enjoy it too. But like, I can't. I'm not gonna go somewhere and play somewhere for like cheap or for what I feel like is below what I'm worth.
Yeah.
So
and you shouldn't. You
Right.
shouldn't. I mean, that's an artist.
but that's something that's taken me. It took me a while to really fully kind of realize that and embrace my potential.
Yeah.
And even still to this day, I like use my work ethic would be pretty good and stuff like that, but I still feel like I could do more, I could do better.
I don't know. If,
Well, dude, that's the thing. Like, that's one thing I've learned, and it's like totally a ripoff of like what all motivational speakers say. But it's totally. I can't remember the first person I ever heard say it, but like when you think you're working hard, it's because you're not working hard at all. And when you're like working your ass off, you're terrified that you're not working hard enough. Like that's what I was talking about literally today. Is like if I like take a break from doing something and I'm just watching TV. Like, I can't just get into a place where I just enjoy what I'm watching
it's
almost
hard
ever.
to.
Because I'm so busy thinking, like, why am I not doing something right now?
Yeah, y'all can ask Steph, like, after the podcast. There are so many times that I will be sitting on the couch going, I should have been more productive today. Like, I will literally just come out and say it, and, like, just because I can't focus on whatever's going around because I'm, like, focused on going, okay, you need to do better tomorrow, or you need to do more tomorrow. But it's kind of the thing that you were saying about, obviously you don't want to be paid less than what you think you're worth. But I don't know if y'all have heard that TikTok song. Steph showed me something. Stephanie's my girlfriend, by the way. I don't know if I ever clarified that.
Look at there.
But
Groundbreaking.
I don't know if we ever clarified.
I think you actually
I talk about her all the time.
Yeah.
But she had shown me something. It was someone making art, is what it was. It was a TikTok, but it had a song on it, and it says it costs so much because it takes me fucking hours, and it's just like, and that makes so much sense because it's like, okay, why is your rate that high as a musician? Because it took my entire life to do this.
Yeah, you're
It took
paying
my
for-
entire
you're paying
life
for years
of experience.
learning how to play these songs or how to construct them,
Understand
learning
them, you know?
understanding them,
And
understanding them structurally.
And it'll be the same. I know you're just getting started in like the graphic design world, and trust me, I know that world because I am too. So I'm just kind of I've always dabbled. Let's say I've always dabbled in it, but I've never really taken it seriously. And I think Nick kind of motivated me to start taking it a little more seriously. But at the same time, it's going to get to a point. You got to have the learning experience. You got to get some stuff under your belt and get it out. But it's going to get to a point where it's just like, no, I don't want to work on that because I know what it's going to be worth when it's done. And if you ain't willing to pay for it, then that's the way it's going to get. And it's just like playing music and stuff. I think that's the way it is with any sort of kind of make something out of thin air sort of situation.
Oh, yeah, when you're not paid hourly or a salary that's agreed upon, when you start doing the barter system, everybody wants to be a desperate seller in a sense that you want more, and everybody wants to be like the hometown discount buyer. That's just common sense.
Exactly.
Like, of course, like a venue is going to want to pay you less. I mean, not less, but like the lower end.
Well, you're local.
They're gonna want you to take less because they're probably gonna make less. Honestly.
Yeah.
Man, do I have
Rare-
something to tell you guys?
Oh,
You'll
breaking!
hop on
Are we breaking this? This is breaking news.
Well,
Breaking news.
But-
Breaking news from
so
Nick Branscombe.
I'm not gonna say the venue name or the person I was speaking to, but this was a gig that I had played just this past weekend. So a few days
narrow it
a few days prior to that, it was actually a week ago today. A week ago today, I saw John Mayer, by the way, and it was incredible.
Yeah, I
Give
think
me a
we
high
need to
foot.
say that.
Can you touch? Don't hit the cords. Don't hit the
They're
cords.
high foots over John Mayer.
But anyways, shout out to John Mayer at the Spectrum Center in Charlotte.
Shout out.
Earlier that day, I got a text from the manager or the venue
The
manager.
venue.
And this was like a few days prior to the gig, and she sent me the text first, and she said she sounded all excited. She was like, "We're so stoked to have you this weekend. Enjoy a free meal on us, blah blah blah." And initially, like a couple months before that, she had reached out to me first initially to book me.
Yeah.
I think maybe James Vincent Carroll had recommended me. Or
Oh,
something
okay.
Like that. Shout out to James.
Yeah.
But so she reached out to me, and we worked out an agreement. We worked out a money agreement and all that, and a date or a couple dates, and that was good, all good. So then, of course, last Monday she texted me just to make sure everything was still good, and I was like, yeah, everything's fine. And I was like, thank you for the free meal and everything. That's really nice of you. And then I reminded her, I was like, so are we still good on the money agreement that we had? And all of a sudden, the tone of this texting conversation shifted in the weirdest way to where I had no idea how to respond. But she responded with, "That's a little high for a newbie." And
Whoa, that's actually kind of disrespectful, honestly.
That is a lot.
I had no idea what to say. I was like, okay. And then so I sent another text, and I was like, so
Does that mean you're okay with it?
Yeah, I was about to say, like, so is that still good? And she just replied with, fine. Like, all lowercase, just F-I-N-E.
That capital F would have really made you feel comfortable, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Don't read into that.
No, that's what I'm saying though.
The first message, yes, read into, but the fine, don't worry about that.
The first message she sent was all happy and like smiley emojis and stuff, and everything was like properly grammatical. And
I wonder if
stuff
she
like
was
that.
like, well, if you would have got to that gig without confirming that, what would have happened?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
But-
We gave you a free meal.
Well,
So
did
we're-
you have receipts from the price that you agreed on originally?
No, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, because
Hey, as soon as it's on text message, it's contracted.
We had initial messages before this conversation. So, but then she came back with like, I apologize. This is why I don't like texting and like things get misunderstood.
Because I agree to
Oh,
prices
so
and
she
I
kind
forget.
of correct herself.
She was trying to like bank up for it, but I'm like, first off, you texted me first, so you could have, if you didn't like texting, you could have just called me.
Yeah.
And that would have been fine.
There were options.
But you can't really go back on calling someone a newbie. And so after that message, I sent her another message, and I said,
You don't think it was like tongue in cheek or something, like she was like joking,
if
or
it was,
It's tough. That's tough to take sarcastically.
because you're not.
Well,
You've
yeah.
been doing this for a while,
That's
man.
exactly what I told her. I said, ma'am, with all due respect, I may be a new performer at your venue because this was the first time that I played there, but I've been doing this for a long time. I'm not a newbie by any sense of the word.
Been out in the light at least since we were 14, 15.
So that was just really strange. And I met her the other night, and she seemed nice.
So have you ever heard of Rock the Block? Like seriously, like Google me, bitch. You'll find me.
But that was just stemming from the conversation talking about paying people for what
It's
they're worth. And
wait,
stuff like
and
that.
as a
Things get really weird when it comes to money.
yeah, as an artist in general, it's to be honest, it is hard to go, this is what I'm worth. It is, because you want to do it, and you wish you could just do it, not talk about the money, and be able to live. But sometimes it's not that easy. Sometimes you got to have that income for your time, because you could have been getting that income somewhere else. Or it's like you were saying, it becomes a job at that point, and you're supporting yourself on it. You kind of have to make those, you have to be stern. It's kind of like the whole, what was it, Anvil, watching the Anvil documentary, and like they play a gig and then the bar didn't want to pay them.
Yeah, so
Like and they were like, yeah. And it's like, well, how far do you get that? Do you take that? You know what I mean? Like how far do you, and there's going to be places and people and things that I guess, either don't understand or just straight up dicks. Like, you were even telling me about a situation that happened a couple weeks ago. Well, the situation didn't happen, but he told me a couple weeks ago that, just a venue that was just kind of salty, and just rude because they were just assholes. Like, that's just what it was.
It was like a double booking that it occurred.
Yeah.
And
they're just being assholes.
Yeah, and
they didn't take responsibility for that.
No, exactly, and like.
And then they were just pretty much like, "Fuck you," and then.
Well, yeah, I called him out on it. I was like, "Look, I do this for a living, you know, and whenever a double booking happens, somebody's getting the shaft, and that somebody could be somebody that's relying on that one, and it happened like just a few days before too. So it's like I didn't really have time to book something else, you know. So then that's just money gone, you know, when you're you know in the field that I'm in. And so
Was this over text as well?
Yes.
See, that's made it so easy to do shit like that too. Like that, it gives them a scapegoat because that's a tough conversation face to face.
You wouldn't think a venue would want to do that to a musician and then that get out to other musicians, would you?
I called them out on it, and then they were, you know, they just sent me a thumbs up. That's like all they
Yeah,
did.
it's
and then so then they ended up messaging me like a few days later, and were like, because I had another date booked there later on in the year, or maybe two, I don't remember. But then they told me we're no longer going to be doing these dates, and we're not planning on having you in the future either. Just for like, I obviously wasn't being an asshole. I was just telling them how it is, you know.
Yeah.
And
just give me, if you knew you fucked up, you know, great and all. Is there something you can do to fix the situation?
People just do not want to take responsibility. You know how easy it is to deflect something like that and just say, like, you know, whatever, what the fuck ever, get over it. It's so easy to say that, especially over text message, because that's a tough conversation face to face.
Business too, like do you want
but
that
hometown
image,
business like that? Like, I mean, I'm sure that their manager is probably also the person that does all the booking. Like at big venues, you know, there's like different people that have those jobs, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they're not. And then what they're gonna pay you probably a few $100s is like you're not gonna go get a fucking lawyer for a few $100.
Yeah.
So,
The
man.
thing that didn't make sense about that particular situation was because I had played one gig there already, and it was great. They loved me. I mean, like, not trying to sound arrogant, but like it
it was a good
was a
time,
good
and everybody
time.
enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
everybody enjoyed it, and then all that happens, just, you know, and it's just, and it's been happening a lot more frequently lately too, with like double bookings and stuff like that, and it's just, you know.
Well, I remember we should have brought this up during the Lucas cast, but I remember we Norm played a gig at Club Orion it was the first time we were at Club Orion, and not to call out that place or anything like that. Maybe I should bleep that out. A place, and we had a gig, and actually Intertwine was playing on that one, and yeah, it was Intertwined and Nightmare, and we were opening the show, and we got up there and started playing at time, you know, like sound guy was on everything was going on. We played
Full tournament going on.
no, we played 3 songs, and then they told us to stop because there was a foosball tournament. It was a foosball tournament that needed to end before we started, and it was just like, so we're just gonna sit here with a thumbs up our asses.
That's because
like,
you were distracting the
am I still getting paid?
foosball?
I guess that's what it was. Like we were too loud, or I don't fucking know.
I think that means you're too good.
Yeah.
If they can't focus on money, they're probably gonna $50 for the winner or something like
Well,
$50.
but if it tells you anything,
that. $50 and a beer.
Yeah.
and we ended up finishing our set. We stayed and finished our set, but like Intertwine left. That's why you probably don't remember it.
Okay, yeah.
They were like,
I
"Fuck
remember
this,"
being there.
and I don't blame them. I don't blame them one bit. That was a situation. It's like
I felt bad. I was probably the one that got them on that show too. I think
Yeah.
I felt bad because
God,
I
you're a
think they
dick.
were friends with the dudes in
You're such a
Nightmare
dick.
too. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I think you're probably right. We probably did pull them into that, and then they were just like, "Fuck this," and they just because they didn't want to wait until 12 o'clock at night to go on, like to nobody.
Yeah.
Like the people were there, you know. So and what had happened is the bar had double booked. They booked a tournament, and then you know there's been so many situations where we've been in a bar where they're having some sort of pool trial or pool tournament, and they fucking love it because they've got music going on, like live music behind them as they're
this
playing.
Isn't the professionals,
Like-
right? Like this at a venue like that. I mean, you're not going to draw that much as a band, even if you are a relatively good local band. You're only going to draw so much, right? So then you
Yeah.
have like a secondary reason to show up on this night. So
And
we're
I
going
guess-
big on this one night, right? So like the idea that you're
We fucked
problem?
up a foosball tournament.
Yeah,
is what
like-
happened.
like if I'm like the manager of that, I'm sitting there thinking like, why is my musical
stupid is that?
like presence like an issue with the foosball? Like, that
I
doesn't make sense.
guess we were it was a smaller bar. So I don't know if it had to do with vibrations.
Well, they need the
or
money
something.
more then.
Why didn't they just do both? That's what I'm saying. You double booked, acknowledge it, and then the foosball tournament happens the way it happens. You know.
And that's like what Dylan keeps saying. It's like, if you double book or do whatever it is that may be a mistake, just own up to it. We're cool, like
Yeah.
we're not gonna...
You'd respect that a lot more.
Now, if you did that to a musician like 3 or 4 times in a row, they're going to be done with you.
But
They're just not going to book any more gigs with
Look,
you.
if you do it one time and come to me and say, "Hey, Nick, man, I fucked up. I'm sorry," I'm gonna be like, "Hey, man, it's cool."
Yeah, people
let's
make
reschedule.
mistakes, right?
Yeah. We're all human, you know.
Let's reschedule. It's all good.
That would have been the best way to do it, is just to put you on another night, like push it out a week or something. Put you on another night.
I do get because that's happened to me quite often, and more times than not, it's been to where I didn't get to keep the gig and they gave it to the other person.
Yeah.
So that gets a little annoying too, especially as long as I've been around. But but still, if you reschedule it, give me another date. Hey, I mean, it's cool.
That's a great way to handle the situation. That's a great way to defuse it, because the musician's still gonna see that income.
Yeah, exactly.
You got it all wrong. The best way to handle that, Nick, is you go up to the lead singer, you challenge him
of the band
to a fist fight, 5 minutes, 5
Mortal
rounds.
Kombat.
No, I was gonna say challenge him to a Yu-Gi-Oh duel. Get the
Nick, you don't know
Dual
shit
disc.
about Yu-Gi-Oh, bro. You're going into waters you don't know nothing about, dog. You better chill.
Pokemon way more than Yu-Gi-Oh.
Okay, then yeah, exactly. So we're taking this
No,
gladiator
I think it needs to
style.
be or Mortal Kombat. One or the other.
Yeah,
Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Winner gets to play the gig. The loser dies.
Loser
Fatality.
dies.
Yeah,
Like a Squid
Jesus
Game.
Christ.
dude, fuck yeah. I mean, it is what it is. It shouldn't have double booked.
Oh man. But
All right.
that one took a turn.
So Nick, so when you inevitably win that Mortal Kombat, how
you
will that
will.
help your mental health?
Well, see, no, that's the thing though. It's the venue's fault that they double booked, so they have to take responsibility for the murder charges. That's all. That only
The
sounds
murder
fair.
charges. It's
They have
on
to
the
pay for-
venue.
That
They
only
have to
sounds-
pay for all the funeral expenses. So, or they just go to jail.
Maybe the trip in the ambulance, not the.
Can a
funeral,
business
bro.
go to jail for first degree murder?
Funeral's on the family, bro. Seriously, like let's.
I guess that would be
cut it back.
second degree murder. Because I mean, it could have not turned into a murder. So
And you
you
become a-
could have been murdered.
Dude, you'd be such a badass too, dude. Like nobody would fuck with
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
dude.
That's when
that
you bring
band
out
would show
Sheila.
up, dude. This is how it works. Like, let's say, like I'm the other band. Like, as soon as you walk in, I'm like, oh, dude, that's that fucking guy. And they're like, well, what are you talking about? That's the guy that fucking
killed a
challenges
man.
lead singers and fucking kills them, bro. I got a dip, dude. This isn't for
I got
me.
to dip.
Like,
I'm not
just-
the lead singer of this
like,
band
dude,
anymore.
Dude, I would go play coffee shops any day and live than this shit. That gets crazy.
Yes.
No, dude, I mean, that whole situation is so unprofessional, and it's like what you said is like I said, the responsibility, bro. Just like own up to your shit. Like, you could totally respect somebody making a mistake. Shit happens, but like if you're gonna deflect it,
Yeah.
like when you do that shit in your business sense, you do that in your real life too. Nobody is a deflector at work and then owns up to their shit in
Oh,
person.
absolutely.
So it's like
They're just
that
a
guy or
bullshitter.
girl is 100% the same person at home.
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty good at, because obviously I've made mistakes before. I've pissed both of you off before, I'm sure.
Oh, I
Think
mean,
so?
And-
But
anytime I did, I was like, hey man, I'm sorry. Or like me and Blakely
It's
Needham off
human.
really bad one time, but we've made up for it, I'm pretty sure. And
well,
so-
if Needham's listening to this, I remember that situation.
Yes.
I'm just
yes.
gonna say that.
And now looking back on it now, I'm like, yeah, okay, that was kind of rude.
Well, it was sort of rude. There was a lot to that situation. So,
Well, when you spend any kind of extended amount of time with somebody and you guys
Needham loves
share,
us. That's all that matters.
you guys have a business venture together, like two realistically. So it's like when you have that much going on and you don't have arguments, then you guys are pretty
Yeah.
much like the same person, or you're lying to each other.
Yeah,
so, I mean, you're gonna have that.
Got to
issue.
have some disagreements, but that's how. That's how you. That's how shit gets discovered. That's how shit works.
It's like your relationship, like with your relationship with bandmates or your friends.
That's
is
how you
very
know you're
similar.
taking it serious.
Yeah, it's very similar to your relationship. I mean, you might not be having sex that much. I mean, you didn't do what you do.
Not that
But,
much.
But I mean, like at the end of the day, I mean, you're gonna have to have those kind of conversations that might get tough sometimes. And if you don't have conversations that aren't that tough, then I mean, like you're not being real with each other. You're not going to grow if you're like, you never grow when you're comfortable, you know? You're only going to grow when things are tough.
It's hard to.
That's why we need to have something we like disagree on this podcast right now, so we can grow.
Oh, we've done that sometimes. That's another reason why I love having guests too, is because there's that third variable. Because me and Nick see eye to eye on like 95% of shit, and it could be shit he's never thought of or I've never thought of, and it just comes out in the end going, no, that makes sense. Like we kind of see things. Well, so having some sort of third wheel to just kind of fuck that up a little bit, I love it.
The problem is, and this is where people aren't going to understand it that much, but like when you're a common sense style person, like you can like see both sides of an argument and find the middle ground where you agree with, you're going to have a lot more of that kind of conversation than you will the controversial style that blows things up. Like those sports shows that blow up because they're controversial and they say hot takes, when you don't ride
like that.
When you don't ride that kind of high, and then you just like, even if you don't agree on your initial points where you come from, if you don't meet in the middle on something, then you didn't have productive conversation. So
exactly.
Like you shouldn't misjudge what happens, like you guys agreeing. I mean, there's probably things that you guys approach differently, but meet in the center on because it makes the most sense.
That's what happens.
So like at the end of the day, if you want to have somebody sit in this chair that like is like bonkers off the wall, I mean, that'll probably be better for like views in a sense that look how controversial this is. But at the end of the day, that's what's like really fucked up about the way that we view social media and stuff. Like I started that TikTok to try to like do self-help stuff to like promote the podcast we were doing, but nobody wants that. Like, you know what blows up on TikTok is a fucking girl pretending like she's cheating on her boyfriend. And like, it's like always like controversial shit.
Or a girl that does like, she just puts some makeup on and she has like really big boobs and just looks.
I mean, like,
God, I wish I was a girl sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, it's never anything fundamentally like sound for like society or humanity in general.
Yeah.
So it's like there's nothing wrong with agreeing. That's what's so funny that that's considered like taboo to an extent, is like having a media platform that approaches things with common sense and agrees on stuff. Instead, everybody wants you to come on like one of these talking head shows like CNN and have a controversial take and like say things that'll like draw interest, because headlines equals views, which equals dollars. So it's like nobody reads articles anymore. Nobody wants to read more than, you know, like 3 lines of something like that. Nobody wants to watch a video that's more than 30 seconds.
I think we're all a little guilty of it too.
Oh,
and
yeah, no.
It's one of those things where it's like you gotta. It depends. I'll tell you, for me, it depends on what that situation is for me to click. So if it's something that I really don't care about, I do see that sentence and I do remember that sentence. Like,
do you go, not to interrupt you, but do you go into the world and then spew that as like fact?
No.
Okay, well, so then you're not like most people.
No,
then.
I do it. I a lot of the times, I'll give you a situation. I was sitting upstairs and I was scrolling through Facebook, and there was an article about Britney Spears having another baby, and I was like, well, I guess Britney Spears is going to have another baby. And I think Stephanie said something to the extent of just like, why should I care? And I was like, that's kind of how I feel. Like, but it was one of those things. I don't know if that was true or not. I really don't.
Yeah.
I was just kind of scrolling and saw it and was just like, well, that's a thing that I guess is going to happen.
Yeah.
But it depends on the thing. You know, if it catches my interest, I'm not opposed to, even with my disabilities, I am not opposed to reading an article. I love information, man.
No, that's good. I mean, that's like a really positive thing. And like, what's funny is like, you'd probably be like the laughing stock of like what's considered like general society now.
Yeah.
Because like everybody is so entrenched in their belief systems that it makes it very difficult to have productive conversation. And that's
It's
like,
hard, man.
this isn't like some kind of like groundbreaking thing I'm saying. Like everybody that's like,
Oh yeah, everyone
a normal
knows
person
this.
says that, but then it's like that's not what's spewed on the internet, and like people think, well, people don't think this, but they still don't like act it out. Like, so this is why I've always said like your actions are a lot, you know, more powerful than your words. Like, it's really easy to say you want to do something, but until you do it, you did the easiest part, was say it out of your fucking mouth.
Say it.
But like, so like people like will talk about how they want to be the bigger person, right? And then stoop to the levels of everybody around them, like, and then they justify it by saying, I did it because they did it. And it's like, I've always called like the brother-sister thing. It's like you try to like outweigh who's really in the bad there. But like at the end of the day, like if you go on Facebook and you put on a political rant for whatever reason to draw attention, and then you got like 10,000 comments on it or whatever, and it blows up, and then everybody's on their side, they're just like barking at each other. there's never any productive conversation because that's
Yeah.
not where it's happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why podcasts have blown up so big, is because of how extended a conversation truly is. And it allows you to rebuttal me if I say something stupid immediately. And it makes me accountable to my words.
Same
so,
here.
like, I could talk pure shit to you online. And, like, as a kid, I remember doing
Keyboard
it.
warriors.
Yeah, like, I remember talking shit to people online, but things I would never say to their face. It takes the empathy out of conversation. So it's like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I could go on there and take whatever you say into whatever context I want, and I can apply whatever emotion you have because I can't see your face while you say it.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you were saying something very mild-mannered, very calm, I could take what you say if it's controversial and flip it like you're being very, like, toxic while you say it, and then blow it back up in your face. Like, why are you coming on Facebook or, Twitter, like, with this toxicity? And you're like, well, no, I'm just kind of stating something. I'm being very, like, general with my approach. So it's just so funny how people think that's, like, communication now, because most people live their lives online. And it's just so funny that communication between people is at an all-time worst. Like, I mean, people with anxiety are amplifying like crazy now, and then
we're all talking, but we're not doing it the right way.
By any
means.
it's ridiculous.
We're
Like, and now, like, your speech therapist and your regular therapist are just throwing pills at people nowadays because it's so much easier to do that than to battle your anxiety. Like, if you have a social anxiety, this is what's so crazy is it starts at birth to, like, I shouldn't say birth, to, like, your young adolescence though, like 2, 3, 4, like when you start to learn how to talk. The way that you engage with adults early in life, like when I was a kid, I remember I had to order my food. If I wanted something, my mom, my dad, my grandpa made me speak and say what I wanted.
Kind of smart.
Yeah,
actually.
and like I think that that's one of the reasons why I'm such a good speaker to people I don't know. Like, I can hold a conversation with just about anybody, just naturally. And it's a skill. It's almost a superpower, really, that you can develop at this point, because there's so many people with high anxiety now with just conversation alone. Let alone, like, like you have acne on your face and you feel ugly, or like, let alone that you're like, like the ugly person you just feel like in general, like, are you a little overweight, stuff like that. People feel anxiety from your physical stuff. Like, through high school, you feel miserable in your body because you're never happy and satisfied with what your penis is never long enough. You're always like, like worried about that until you're like 18 and you realize it doesn't fucking matter. So it's like,
you realize that everybody else's dick is small too.
You're 13 and you're popping boners into your waistband.
That was like such a good serious rant, and then all of a sudden he's talking about
That's why I love Dylan, because that's the way conversation goes. Is it's serious as fuck, and then he says something funny, but it's real.
But it is real.
But
yeah,
it's
like,
real.
Like, think about when you're 13 and you're in the middle of like English class and you're not talking about anything sexual, but you pop a random chub and you gotta like tuck it into your waistband, bro. That's tough.
Yeah.
But like, you're so worried about that now, and like you would be like so made fun of that, but like it's like so silly. Like, in the context of like, as adults, we form these like anxieties out of our own insecurities that we never worked on. So like, that's my big thing. In the first episode, I wanted to clarify something that was actually said. You said I don't believe in therapy at all, and I just wanted to clarify, because he's not totally wrong, but he's not totally right either. I think that therapy. He said something. He said like, I don't believe in therapy.
His self-help podcast called The Antidote. It's still available if you want to go check it out.
Yeah, go listen to The Antidote.
They had an episode about therapy and how effective it is.
And
so what I got was that you don't fully believe in it.
Yeah. No, it was fine. It was just like, it needed to be explained, because you're not entirely wrong, but like, before everyone
it's more nuanced.
Yeah, before everyone generalizes my opinion on that, I can explain it better. It's like, I think that therapy is very beneficial to a lot of people that have a hard time with that objectivity we were talking about and understanding what's wrong with them. Like, like, I lived 25 years of my life before I understood that I battled depression, right? Like my mom had it. She's clinically depressed, and she, is given pills, and she lives off of those pills to try to feel normal. And it's like, I lived my whole life thinking that it wasn't possible for me to be depressed. And like, I didn't want to ever acknowledge that I could be, right? Like, a therapist could have very easily, that was what was said on that episode. A therapist could have helped me realize that early in life.
Just go ahead and diagnose it and how to deal with it.
The problem is, I think that we use medicine before we use treatment. And
that's a Western thing, by the way.
That's really scary to me, how fast we give people medicine to deal with things that are possibly like treatable with actual action. So to me, like, what's really helped me manage my depression over time is exercising, and like that self-accomplishment. I feel like after working out, like, I work out 7 days a week. Yeah. That activity like makes me feel better about myself, because like, I'm doing something that most people don't want to do, just for the sheer fact that I can do it. Because the only thing that was stopping me from working out before was the fact that it was easier to not do it. So
Yeah.
it's like, to me, a therapist could have very easily helped me figure that out. But the solution, and I'm not even saying like, working out's fixed my depression. I said there are times where I still like feel it. Like when I'm
Oh
alone, a
yeah,
lot of times
I think
it
if you
amplifies.
just battle it, you're going to.
Yeah.
No matter what.
But like my mom lives off of that medicine, and if she stops, she's physically and mentally dependent on it to the point where she could probably go like a month and eventually be like weaned off of it. But the
Yeah.
problem is that month will be grueling, and it's like a real drug addiction, like to like heroin and stuff like that. I mean, of course, it doesn't damage your life the same way. There's obviously differences, but when we just throw pills at people and say this is going to fix your problem, instead of saying, hey, like if you have a hard time with communication, just go to somebody and just, how are you doing? And that's so much easier said than done, but that's literally life. Like we said, you don't grow when you're comfortable. So if it's easier for you not to talk to people and you have social anxiety, so you spend more time on the internet with your communication than you do in person, you're literally making yourself worse.
yeah,
The issue
you're
that you
aiding your
have is
problem.
amplifying over time because you're not working on it.
And here's the thing, and this was like a big thing that we were wanting to touch on this particular episode was like mental health and stuff like that. And I think that as wonderful as like social media has been for like just the advancement of the world and stuff like that, I mean, mental health is something that gets talked about a lot nowadays, like way more than I feel like I remember from when I was growing up, or even back before my time.
Well,
And
you go, sorry.
I think that social media is the number one driving force to all of that.
To why it's getting worse.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think it's the number one, but I think it's close.
Well,
I think
can I
there
be
are a lot
honest?
of things.
I think that men are talking about it more. When we were kids, like think about how many girls were suicidal. I say that with air quotes
Yeah.
because it was like, they would have little tiny scratches, not even going the right direction for attention. I think men are talking about it more in a way because I think growing up, I remember hearing about how depressed girls were a lot of times. But
Yeah.
like up until
Well, and their I think we can go ahead and say that their hormonal changes are a little stronger than ours.
oh, of course,
So,
no doubt. I mean, they have like literal emotional changes that we don't have the same
Yeah.
things on.
I mean, but we still have hormonal changes, and
Yeah,
we
yeah.
will up until what 50? Is that what it is?
Who knows? I'm not a doctor.
It's when you get your everybody says that's when you go off the rails. It's midlife crisis and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Up until that point, that's when
But
your
he's not
hormonal
wrong,
changes
and
stop.
like it's definitely not. It
It's
might
definitely
be the number
helping.
one amplifier in a sense that there were always things causing it. That might be the one that's driving it the fastest, though. And I think that
it doesn't have
because
to. We're just doing
men
that.
speak out now, we know a little bit more about it. And social media also allows you to openly talk about it. It's a platform, no matter which one you're using, that allows you to speak your mind and stuff like that. But I also think, and this is the part of mental health that I am interested in, not the part where athletes are setting out because they're stressed out because of how hard their job is.
Yeah. Or just life is.
Yeah, in general, like I don't like that form of treatment to your issues because I don't think that you go seclude yourself in a room and try to like hide away from the things that are stressing you out are going to make you truly better. I think you have to live your life.
I could disagree to a small extent. So do you think any of that would help at all?
Oh,
or are
no,
you
see-
talking about a long span
Yeah,
of time?
I'm saying like it's never going to fix your problem.
Yeah.
Like I do like that's like with therapy. I think that therapists obviously help people.
Yeah,
I
so
think that
you don't
taking
think a day off would No, I'm not saying fix, but do you think a day off could just cool someone down to get to the point to where they want to work on those issues?
That's what I'm scared about is do people want to work in general? And I don't mean like, like at work,
That's
but
a good point.
I don't know if people want to put in the hard work that it requires to work on an issue. And that's my thing is like, I obviously realize that taking a break from what's stressing you out is the initial way to get into a mental mindset where you can work on it, right?
Yeah.
So obviously you need the initial break. I'm
You
not
need
saying you're
something.
stressed out at work.
And you may need multiple breaks,
Yeah.
but you don't need a month to
Well,
try to
you
think
can't
about
quit
it.
what you're doing. Like
Yeah.
here's the thing is like, so like we did a Simone Biles thing on our podcast because it happened while we were doing it, right? Like, so she quit in the middle of the Olympics because of her mental health. And I'm not doubting that it's very difficult. Like I said earlier, when you're really good at something, it's not meant to be fun. Like when you're a professional athlete, an Olympic athlete, it's not fun to be that great, because the reality is you're that great because you work 10 times harder than everybody else. And in order to stay that great,
you have to. You're set to that standard.
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
That
so
you've set the standard.
Well, I will say though, whenever you see like interviews with Tom Brady and stuff like that, he's always saying how much fun he's having. So I mean,
Let's go.
Like, yeah, I mean,
no, being good is fun, but getting good is not fun.
Yeah.
That's the
Oh
reality.
yeah, he was an asshole. To get there,
Yeah.
So obviously he wasn't having a good day most of the time.
To relate to her thing is like, I have no doubt in my mind that it's stressful to be her and to deal with some of the things that they have to deal with as Olympic athletes and stuff like that. But the thing is, if you relate that job wise, like if I went to Krispy Kreme tomorrow and I was stressed out of work and said, hey, I need like a mental break, I'm just gonna not work for a week. I mean, they might maybe give it to me. There's a decent chance they don't, and if I really like demanded that and I wanted everybody to be okay with it, there's a decent chance that I'm fired by Krispy Kreme. And everybody says, well, you're not an Olympic athlete, you don't understand, you could never understand what she's going through. And it's like, at the end of the day, are we listening to what she's saying then? Because like, if you take your base argument in a debate and then change your base argument to try to make yourself right, then you've already lost, because now we're debating something else.
Yeah,
so that's what everybody did to defend her, was they said, you don't know what she's going through. You don't know how hard it is to be an Olympic athlete. You don't know, like that. There's like now these like theories that the way that she's judged is different by the rest of her competition. Maybe that's all true. The problem is, if you need to bring in all these other things to make your debate, your initial base of your debate was dead to begin with.
Yeah,
and you know
didn't
that.
have a good base.
So to me, it's like, take that break for sure. If you're, I mean, I don't think she should in the moment. That's the Olympics. That's like your biggest moment. That's like the busiest day.
I think it's definitely up to the individual for sure. But that was kind of speculated that there were other things that had some weight on that.
This was in the midst of like her winning like a gold medal or something.
Well, she had just got bronze. And then that's when it happened. So some people thought that she was being a sort of loser about it. I don't think that's what it is. But
I don't think
it's like if I walked into Krispy Kreme, like I said, on the busiest day of the year and said, guys, mental health's not good right now, I'm stressed out, I got to take the day off. They're going to laugh in my face. Like, they need productivity.
Yeah, I guess
when you're a leader, you have to lead in tough moments, even if it's tough for you.
Well, I guess it depends on your employer, too, because I mentioned this show on the podcast before, but I listened to two guys named Chris on the local rock station around here, Rock 92.
Shout out
to rock, two guys named Chris, if I can speak.
Two Chris's.
Two Chris's.
Dose Chris's.
But they have one of the co-hosts on there, Biggie. He recently is taking like some time off, or you call it a sabbatical, or that's religious, ain't it?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, well, I don't think it's a sabbatical, but he's taking some time off.
Probably, I don't know.
And I think he said.
What's a sabbatical?
Yeah, what's I Google it?
I think a sabbatical is like for religious reasons. I think.
Sabbatical.
I could be totally wrong.
Sabbatical, a period of paid leave granted to a university teacher or other worker for study or travel, traditionally 1 year for every 7 years worked. So it doesn't sound religious. It sounds, or here's another one, of or appropriate to the Sabbath leave. So I guess in modern day it's not religious, but
the initial base of it is.
The initial idea of it came from religion,
anyways,
is what it sounds like.
Some time off because his name is Biggie, so he's always struggled with weight issues and stuff like that, and I think it wears on him mentally too. But it sounded like he said in a Facebook post that he was so thankful that he has employers that are understanding and are willing to let him take some time away. So I would assume he's still probably going to get some kind of compensation.
Yeah, I feel like that has to, an employer, what you got in an employee.
Also,
and I think if they thought that what I'm saying is, even at Krispy Kreme, if your employer knew that he was better off letting you have that week and then knowing he's getting you back, even if it's the busiest week, if he knows he's better off doing that, then that's a decision that the company is making. So if a company says no to something like that, it's completely understand. To me, the way I see things, I'm very kind of libertarian on things like that, where it's just like a company should be able to do whatever the fuck they want to. And I'm not saying that like I support anything that a company does, but I mean, even to the point of, if they get racial or whatever, you know, if they don't like somebody because of their color or something like that, they should be allowed to do that. I'm not saying that they should. I'm saying they should be allowed to do it just so they can fail, because as soon as that gets out, they're gonna fucking fail as a company. Nobody's gonna support that kind of business. Like, you don't want those kind of people doing whatever service you need, you know. But it's you know, up to a company to decide.
No, I
and
agree
I think
with
for
that
her, it kind of sounded more like, you know, it was up to her whether she wanted to do it or not.
Yeah, I mean,
and
like, she's in a position where, or she was in a position, I guess, where like she knew she'd probably get some flack for it, but she would be able to come back.
Oh yeah, dude. Well, no, everybody.
she'll probably come back better.
Look,
dude.
people. This is the way that we work now too. Is like we just kind of support anything. When someone says mental health, it doesn't matter if you're battling a fucking drug addiction, which she wasn't. But like, and if they just say mental health, everybody is gonna be like open arms accept you. And that's not. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but like, to me, the way I view leadership, even if it's tough for you in stressful moments, you have to be the one there. I mean, like, that's, to me, it's very easy to say, like, you know, what you said, like, it's better for some people's mental health. Some companies should recognize that. I agree with that in theory.
Yeah.
The problem is when you're a leader in a moment like that and you step down because your mental health, the signal that I would receive if I was one of her underlings aspiring to be her is that at any point, if I feel like I need to walk away, I can just walk away. And sometimes that's not life. You don't get to, I mean, let's relate it to like things that you go through in life in general. Let's say your relative just died, your mom or your dad, and all that pain is just fucking you up mentally. Of course, you're going to get time off, but I'm saying you can't tell the pain, I want time away from my mental health. You don't get to tell your problems.
You're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, you don't get to tell your problems, leave me alone, so that I can get better about this. You usually have to tackle things head on. So when I think of a leader, and I mean, I'm in a leadership position myself now. I mean, I have been since I was 19 at Food Lion. Like, I just think that no matter how stressed I get, now let's talk about her levels of stress. What she might have to deal with is way greater. I'm not saying that we're on the same levels. I'm just trying to.
I believe you are on the same. I think everybody has their individual issues.
Yeah.
And she's not going to understand what you go through on a daily basis, and neither will us her. So I think everybody's got, I mean, obviously some people have it harder than others, but you're going to have a day that's just as bad as theirs. I mean, that's just
You never
life.
thought Tom Brady, LeBron James, Michael Jordan had a moment like what she's talking about?
Yeah.
You think they never had a moment where everything was on their shoulders? But did they buckle? No, because that's when you're a leader, you can't do that. You don't get to.
Okay. So
Didn't LeBron James, did he not like recently do something like that though? Like, was it similar?
I don't
remember he
care
took off
about
like
LeBron.
the rest of when he took off the rest of the season because of an ankle injury.
Was it that?
Well, I mean, I don't know if he really had an ankle injury. I mean, they were like they weren't going to make the playoffs. If they did, they were going to lose the play-in game. They weren't very good. So I mean,
I remember seeing him.
at the end of the day, but like none of them ever truly quit like to the same degree in the biggest stage. It's kind of like if in the Super Bowl, Tom Brady said, I'm stressed out right now.
And no, well, here's the things. Here's the things that I think, considering in that situation, there's kind of two points I want to bring up. Okay, so what if you're just not a leader?
Well,
I come from a management background too. That was my initial, where I managed like 3 different dominoes. Well, I was assistant manager, but I was doing a lot of the work. When those situations, being a leader and being a leader in the right moment is what got me where I was. And I'll tell you, and like, if business was soft, there ain't nothing going on really, I was your best friend. But when it came to crunch time, I was, I delegated, and I've always been good at doing that when it was time to do that. So, but I realized that there were a lot of people under me. There was a lot of people that got promoted. There was a lot of people, even in current, situations of employment, you see people get promoted that can't handle it.
Oh, no, that's big. That's huge.
Well, if you realize you're just not a leader, is it okay to buckle some to get that mental,
that's one of the tough
that
parts.
mental breaks?
I mean, that's the thing. You don't find out whether you're built for leadership until you get into it, honestly. I mean, I think I'm really good at recognizing
you're saying
it.
As a leader, you're not allowed to buckle, but if you're not a leader, then
the thing is, like, so I've worked with plenty of people that have been fellow managers that shouldn't be. I've worked with a lot of people that are like that.
exactly.
So I'm never
It
surprised.
happens.
Yeah, I'm never surprised when I see it. I mean, I don't know if it's ever okay. Like, my opinion is, if we're stressed out at work, I have to be the one to step up, and I got to stay calm. And I look at that in my household too. Like I mean, like, not
Because
to,
it will end.
and not to be
To
like
anybody who is in that leadership role, it will end.
no matter how hard it is.
Trust me that if you can hold tight through the moment, then you can deal with your mental health right after.
Yeah, like, I mean, no,
I'm
honestly,
serious.
no.
Time to clock out.
I'm serious. Well, and there's been times when we've been, played gigs or been on tight schedules and things like that, where it's like it kind of gets inside of your head, and you kind of you're stuck to a time limit or whatever, and you've got to remove gear by a certain point or whatever, and people are pushing you.
Yeah.
It will end. Just remember, it will end, and it's not every day all the time.
I want to ask both of you this, just relating to this topic, because I know how Dylan's mentality is about it. So we're talking about Simone Biles quitting, like, just right in the middle of, like, the biggest event of her life, right? But say you're just your regular job, right? There's a lot of people that have that no days off mentality, like work, grind, get up early, grind until like the late hours of the night. But and many like doctors and experts will tell you that that's actually not really a great thing to have, because at some point your body does need to like have a period, like not a long period, like maybe a day or so, and I guess that's why there's the weekend, right?
That's
like
why you take
work,
a weekend or a
9 to 5,
vacation,
and then Saturday and Sunday are your days for your body to kind of reset and stuff like that. So is that, I mean, do you think that the no days off thing even should include every 7 days a week, I don't know, 15, 16 hours a day if need be? Or do you think that your body physically, and for your mental sake too, needs those day or two to recharge?
Well, I think you'd be stupid, and I think that you need time off. I mean, I'm definitely not. I mean, like, I work out 7 days a week, and I mean, like, I keep myself busier than probably 99% of the people in this country. But I mean, like, I definitely am not dumb enough to believe that you don't need time off. I mean, like, I go 7 days a week just because I don't want to do it.
It helps you. It's almost medication for you.
Yeah, exactly. And also, it's one of the things I don't want to do. So I mean, like, we'll go, as we go into this topic, I'll talk about like training your brain is something that I'm real big on. But like, that's what I'm essentially doing, is I'm training my brain that you make an excuse why we can't do it. The only reason you can't work out 7 days a week is because you don't want to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was doing 5 days a week. I was like, why can't I do 6? Why can't I do 7? The only reason, I mean, I'm taking, just a 30-minute workout. I mean, my workouts take about an hour now. So, like, I'm working out essentially like 7 hours a week. But, I mean, like, at first I was only doing 30 minutes. I mean, even if you're only doing 15, that's better than 0.
Yeah.
30 minutes per week, or like
every day?
30 minutes
every day.
a session.
So it's like, I think that you have to have time off. The only thing that's hypocritical about that is, and this is where it gets back to how successful do you want to be? Those doctors and experts that say that shit are the same exact people that had to put in 70-hour weeks to get where they go.
Oh, yeah.
Like I mean, like, my wife, what she's having to do just to get into radiography is insane.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally insane what she's having to do right now. I mean, like, luckily I make enough money to pay all of our bills for the most part, and she can cover her part of the rent, and that's all she really has to pay for. Like, if she didn't have me, or like a, like, if, let's say her parents didn't live here either, like, if she just had to pay for her own house, I don't see how somebody could do it. It's insane.
But she's holding it together.
Oh, no, she's fucking great. She's a fucking trooper.
That's what I'm trying to say.
No, not everybody can do that, and I'm aware of that.
She's
like,
holding it
so what
together.
you originally had asked me is like, what if you're not a leader? I fully understand that there are a lot of people that aren't leaders, and I was going to say, actually, in our household, she would tell you I am the alpha out of us too. So it's like, to me, if things get rough in our household, I can't take a step back and show her that I'm stressed out sometimes. Venom, the cat, my cat,
The cat,
named after the Marvel character. So
yeah, but you're saying there's never going to be a day or a situation where you can't handle something, and like you physically don't want to handle something or can't do it today.
She'll never know until it's done. That's my thing. It's like, and maybe I'm just sucking my old dick when I say this, but I mean, like, for me at least, whether I'm at work, whether I'm at home, no matter what I'm doing, if like, like God forbid, like the world turns into chaos, like you're not gonna see me stressed. I'll do that on my own time, and maybe that's like toxic to do to
I
yourself
do that
mentally.
a lot too.
But like I'm telling you right now, when you see my face in the busiest moments and the hardest times, I will have the same personality, like laughing, joking, calm as a cucumber, and then as soon as it's done to myself, that's when I'll have that moment where I take time to heal, like you're saying, like finish what we have to do now, and we'll move past it in the time when it's done.
Yeah.
See, this is so interesting about you saying that, because everything you're saying is totally true, like about yourself, because, and it's funny talking about what I do for a career nowadays and stuff, and my work ethic and everything, but like back when we would play basketball all the time and stuff, like I liked basketball, and I felt like it was the one sport I was halfway decent at. Every other sport I was pretty trash at, but
I was trash at all of them. So, well, I could skateboard.
Well, yeah,
that's all I could do.
When we would play
ride
basketball,
bikes.
When we played basketball, Dylan was always like coaching too, sometimes I didn't necessarily like that.
No, I get it. It's definitely
because I was always just playing more recreationally,
Yeah.
and just to have.
He's
fun
trying to
and
push you
stuff.
to be better.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I guess I wasn't really thinking about it. Like, I want to be better at basketball. Like, I just want to play. But when it comes to, I guess, music or anything else venture-wise that I do, I guess I'm my hardest coach. I still don't know if I love other people coaching me. I mean, I enjoy people supporting me and motivating me to keep at it and stuff like that.
Yeah,
you should be.
I don't get better at anything unless somebody pushes me a little bit to do it. And all that, that as a guitar player, all that could mean is just seeing a, like today I was watching a short little snippet of B.B. King and, damn, who was it?
Nick
Why
Bryson.
can't I remember his name? Unfortunately, he passed away. He owned Greenie. Why can't I think of his name? Gary Moore. Gary Moore.
That's so funny when that happens, because I would have been.
It took two brains to do that. So
I would be able to say Gary's name any other day, but then when you're like, I'm struggling, then I'm like, well, I'm struggling too.
But I was watching Gary Moore and B.B. King kind of go back and forth.
I'm pretty sure I've seen
and just kind of listening to what they're doing, and literally they were playing the same thing. They were mimicking each other, but it was two different styles, and it just kind of drove me to go, well, I kind of want to play those licks and see what it sounds like too. And but that kind of thing, just watching two incredible guys just do that, it just kind of drove me to go, I kind of want to
give you temporary motivation.
Yeah. That's what always pushed me to be better.
So you don't think well, let me not.
Someone one-upped me, so I'm just like, I think I can do that, or I think I can pull that off, and I want to hear how it sounds.
Let me phrase this as a question to you then. Do you think that you struggle with self-discipline in your own life without outside forces pushing you?
100%. Always. I've struggled with a lot of stuff, mentally and physically, but it's for me, especially when it comes to motivation in general, I am always a guy that is full bore on myself to motivate myself, and then after like 3 days of plugging that shit, I am wore slap out.
It's because motivation isn't real, dude. It's like a temporary feeling that you get.
Slap out. Yeah, I am wore slap out, and then I'm just like completely like blank minded. I'm not creative. I'm not like that's kind of where when you was talking about kind of having time to wind down or just something like that, I think you definitely need that time, and you need that time to yourself sometimes. Yeah. And maybe it's sometimes doing something so you're not thinking about all the stresses of the day or the week or the month, the year, or life in general. But it's almost, for me, what's the hardest thing is trying to get myself to. I need that short time, but even during that short time, trying to tell myself that you don't need to be doing this right now. This is a waste of time. You're wasting life right now. Like I continuously tell myself that, and it's just like, if I would just give myself a fucking hour, like I probably would have been fine. You know, if I just would have not thought about it and then started thinking about it right after that hour. You know, if I just gave myself a break from it for a second, to come back to it and reevaluate, you know.
Well, I think it could be toxic, and
that's not good.
we good?
Yeah, someone should have plugged their computer up.
Oh, so I can keep going right now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I think that there's definitely toxicity in that and like how damaging it can be, but I feel like
Can't find the hole.
every single successful person that you can think of has that too. Like you don't like find real success in life from not working hard. Like it's like there's very few people that just like one day wake up and have luck on their side that gets them famous or rich or like wealthy and stuff like that. Like, so to me, like I have those moments and it's tough, but not
to interrupt you.
You're good. Do your thing.
Sometimes that does happen, but then like you just get lucky or something
And it's
like that.
not
But then
sustainable.
then you all of a sudden become a hard worker because you're placed in a position of success, a certain success. You know, so like say, I don't know, like Justin Bieber's like his upbringing and stuff. It seems to me like he put some videos online of him singing.
I think I
the
found by
songs
Usher, right?
And got discovered by Usher. But so he got discovered, right? Became the biggest thing in the world. But then he probably had a really grueling tour schedule then and stuff like that. So so then he's just thrown into having to work all the time, and I mean, he's had some moments.
But that usually collapses most people. Very few people have ever risen to the level of stardom that he has and actually kept it together. Like, I mean, like he fucking had like a bad set of years, but I mean, now everything seems relatively calm.
Well,
And
he's
not many
always
people do
still
that.
had a number one, you know.
Not many people do that shit, bro. He's an anomaly. And when you base your shit off anomalies, bro, it's going to blow up in your fucking face. Big time.
I mean, he's even held up. I mean, he's been married for a while now. Hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, a few years, I guess. I mean, something like that. But it's like, to me, I just wonder, like, if you like, would you go back in time, right, and like meet like the forefathers, maybe not even to build this country, just people that like were the most productive people.
George?
They probably did the same shit, dude. They didn't get mental breaks either. Like, I mean, think about then, like, you were always worried about when your next meal's coming. You're always worried about.
I know they got mental breaks. I mean, it's true, both. But I do know that, like, in pressure times, like kind of how me and you were talking about, it was a big deal for, especially like with George Washington in particularly, like running from the British. There was no time to sit and think.
Even before
There's no time to stress. There's no time to worry. It's get the fuck out of there.
What about Indians that like had to farm off land and bring back food? I mean, you scavenge to live, like shit like that. I mean, like, do you think those people got to escape stress? Like, we are so fortunate nowadays to have the distractions. I mean, they probably did.
They may have enjoyed. No, I feel like.
Oh, you mean? Oh, I see what you're. Okay, I'm sorry.
They would probably enjoy life.
No,
I don't think George Washington enjoyed running away, but I'm just saying it during that
you're saying,
time.
Did they find peace and solace in the idea?
He
of what
found
they did?
ways to like inspire his men to continue on.
I agree with that.
And to keep them mentally here and with him, with him, and not just bail or anything, and a lot of these men were sick. So with that sort of thing, I do think a leader inspired many to create the kind of mental health I think you're talking about, where it's just how to get through it, and he helped them not only get through it, but ever last through something that could have been,
think about the weight of a war.
We could have got obliterated.
Yeah, think about how like
we should have got obliterated.
Yeah, if you lose that war, I mean, like the outcome is like pretty tragic for your family, stuff like that. So like, I mean, like we're talking about like paying bills and eating food. I mean, to them that's their life. So it's like, I don't know if like that stress is such a bad. I mean, I don't know, man. It's one of those things.
I think
where
stress can be a good thing,
man.
I
tell you,
it can be a bad thing too.
I think that struggle is the best thing you can deal with, man. I grew up like we went from relatively wealthy to fucking poor, man, in a matter of a day, and like a Wells Fargo buying out Wachovia merger really put like really fucked up our life, man. And it was like, I mean, I can't sit there and complain because I still think I had a relatively simple life for the most part. Some people had it harder, but man, that struggle. Like, I really think that that's ingrained the version of me that's been birthed now. Like, I mean, like I said, I've always made excuses as to why I couldn't do stuff like that. That was a big factor in my life. But then once I, like, started to tell myself that we're not going to listen to those anymore and we got to get shit done, like if I could have this mentality at 18 or 19, bro, what I could have accomplished then,
I understand.
I wouldn't be playing catch up at 28, bro. It'd be crazy. And it's just like, whenever we started the self-help podcast, I'll kind of like go into the next level of this conversation a little deeper off this topic itself. But like when we started the self-help podcast, it was all built off the idea that I was like, man, infecting my mentality might be toxic to some, but to the people that are capable of greatness, like, you're only holding yourself back, and that was my thing is like, I was so scared of failure that I didn't realize that's your greatest teacher. You need to experience it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I would definitely say any person that is scared of failure, you're never going to get anything done.
I mean, I'm not.
You're never going to
people,
try.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm never telling people to work out 7 days a week. I'm never telling people to do exactly as I do. I'm big on start with one thing you don't like doing though. Do that one thing every day. Then after a month and that becomes daily habit, you don't hate that no more. Start your next thing, and then
Just
realize how
add to
different
it.
that will change your mentality. Like for me, it was making the bed when I got up every day. I remember I was still living in my parents' house, and my wife, that time girlfriend, always made fun of me how I never made my bed. That was something I hated doing. I would just get up and leave the covers all messed up. I started with that. Then it was the next thing I'm thinking was working out 5 days a week. And then it became 6 days, 7 days. And I mean, I can't sit here and think of the next thing it probably was, but like I just kept like for a month, 2 months. And then whenever I was like, this is just daily habit for me now, I'd find another thing. If you can train your brain, that's what I used to always say on the podcast and in the TikToks I did. If you can train your brain to be your ally and not your greatest like enemy or your greatest excuse, you can really get a lot more done, man. Because like most people don't maximize their time. Most people work a 40-hour-a-week job and think because they show up and do what they're asked to do, they're busting their ass at work.
Yeah.
Like the reality is if you're going home every day after a 40-hour-a-week job and that's all you're doing, you're wasting so much of your life. You're wasting 2/3 of your life. I mean, you got to sleep, right? But the reality is like most people sleep 8-9 hours like on their weekends, stuff like that. I'm getting up after like 6 hours of sleep. I'm still a little tired, but I'm getting up and trying to do something to be productive. It might not be productive now, but in 10 years, who knows where that is, right? So to me, it's like, I don't want to get up at fucking 5 a.m., bro. I mean, like there are days where I'll work at 3 a.m., like, and then the next day, that'd be my time I could sleep in. If I'm off or if I close, I could sleep in. But instead, I make that decision. And I'm empowered by that. It makes me more proud of myself, but I'm also more productive. And I'm getting more stuff done. If you think you can't squeeze in a 15-minute workout, at least just 15 minutes, no breaks, 3 sets of an ab workout or something, you're delusional. The only reason you're not doing it, and I'm not talking to either of you, I'm talking just in general, like the only reason you're not doing it is because it's easier to not do it and come up with excuses. And that's what I was talking about on the pod all the time is you train your brain throughout life to take the easy road on things and to naturally form those excuses for you. Like hypothetically, you come home from work. I know you worked at home, but I'm just going to use your say. Let's say you went away from work and came home and you're tired. I know, it's like, mentally exhausting, especially doing what you were doing. Very mentally exhausting sometimes. But the reality is, like reset for about an hour. The fact that you can't get a 15-minute little thing in, your brain's probably going to be like, nah, we're tired, man. Maybe I'd be better doing it in the morning. Like you'll have a million excuses come up before you have 1 ounce of that motivation you're talking about. You want to know why? You literally live your entire life telling your brain why you can't do things. And like technology makes it worse. Everything is made to make your life more simplistic. I'm not saying don't have a cell phone and text your friends.
Do something hard,
I'm not saying
people.
Write letters.
Do something
but
hard.
I'm saying like you literally like live your entire life coming up with reasons why you can't do things that are inconvenient. And your brain remembers that. Like I said, you're training your brain throughout your entire life to tell you why you can't do things because naturally it doesn't want inconvenience. So what you're doing is you're saying, it's a lot easier to not work out. It's a lot easier to not have a side job. It's a lot easier to not reach out and try to grow your podcast. It's a lot easier to just make it. And that's what I was doing. Like I said, I didn't reach out and try to talk to guests, stuff like that. I was just hoping it'd just click one day. And like, that's my thing is if I could adapt that mentality now, I mean, I don't know if it'd be different. I mean, we had quite a few listeners on the movie review podcast, even some international listeners. It showed me like people in like the Baltic countries and Europe, like who knows how different it'd be. And like, I'm no different than anybody else, man. Like I have no crazy talent that pushes me. I have a work ethic that I don't think anybody I've ever met could ever match. But that's because like I'm so mad at who I was. We're trying to not be that person no more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's so
Bettering yourself.
Yeah.
You were talking about getting in like a 15-minute workout and stuff like that. Last year, I would get up in the mornings. I'd do like either the 20 or 30-minute one. like pretty much every day. You know, weekends were always weird for me, but but now I've gotten into where I'm only ever like I get up and get my heart rate going, but it may only be like 10 minutes, you know, or something like that.
Dude, something's better than nothing.
But like I don't get done with that and then immediately crash and turn the TV on and watch TV. You know, then I'm on to the next learning songs or practicing or you know doing things for my photography. You know, trying to promote my business, something. You know, throughout most of the day. Now I do have a period. You know, most of the time in the evenings, maybe around 9 or 10, a lot of the times, because I do like to try to keep myself busy even into the evenings too. But I mean, I'll have like my period of like 9 or 10 o'clock. That's when I'll chill out.
It's time to shut down.
Turn the TV on and you know watch some stuff, you know, or whatever. But you know, and sometimes I'm like, man, you know, should I be doing this? Should I be doing something? But other times I'm like, you know. I mean, I've been working hard with what I've been doing, and so, you know, it's almost like giving yourself a slight reward for doing things that you didn't want to do, you know. So I think that it's not wrong. It's not wrong to do that, you know, and give yourself a little time to just unwind.
Nah, man, you should. I'm telling you, it'd be nice if I could like have a moment of peace, like what you're saying. It'd be really good. I think that it's necessary, but like also like what you're saying where you wake up and you immediately jump into stuff, man, that's another thing too. Like if you can get up and like train yourself to immediately like get into the day of doing stuff, like when I wake up, I literally am doing everything fast paced to get my heart rate going, like you're saying, so that I have that productivity already there.
Now just speaking honestly, like
here we go.
A lot of times
I'm being honest.
When I wake up, I'll like browse the phone for a little bit, but not like crazy long most of the time.
That's only when I'm on the crapper. And then after that, I try to wake up.
Then I get up and get my routine going and stuff like that.
But I don't think it should be just working out. Like whenever I talked about this in the podcast, I had people ask me, do you think you should just be exercising? I do think everybody should just naturally because it's good for your body, your bone density and stuff like that. But like if you have a side hustle that you're doing, like that you need to be doing those, like you need something. That was my whole point when we were doing the podcast. Like, you know, if you sleep
or a hobby or something,
something. It doesn't even have to generate you know, revenue. Like I mean, we're all pursuing things to make us more money, of course. Yeah. But like, you need to try to be better at something. You should try to constantly be better at something. You're getting one life here on this planet, and you're gonna look back at 50 and 60, and there's a very good chance you're gonna look back and think of all the things you didn't fucking do. You're not going to remember half the shit you did right. That's how I live my life now. Like, dude, I can remember all of, like, feels like almost every mistake I've ever made. It feels like, I mean, there are cringy moments from my, like, history I can remember. I don't remember almost any of the good stuff. Like, you know, we played basketball all the time. All the game-winning shots I probably hit or all the cool stuff I did. I don't remember hardly any of it. But I can remember almost all the things I did wrong. And it's like, that's how you're going to end up living your life is full of regret. Now, how many regrets you have is up to how hard you want to work between now and then. Yeah. And that's my thing now is like, I'm at 50 years old. If I'm like a store manager at Krispy Kreme or whatever I end up doing at that point, man, and none of this ever worked out, and I'm just, you know, working out 7 days a week and like there's no benefits other than just, you know, I'm a little bit in better shape.
Being healthy.
At least at the end of the day, I fucking did something, man.
Yeah.
Because if you spend fucking 4 hours a day playing video games, not to stream, not to like competitively game at least, and you're just playing for fun, like, you're wasting that time, man. I mean, that's what I said is like, you know, I mean, even if you're not working on your physical and mental health, I mean, if you're playing like, you know, if you're trying to grow as a streamer, that's something.
Well, I can tell you even, and I've mentioned this before, I try to do 30 minutes of essentially what is yoga a day.
That's huge.
That's what I try to do. But what I always know I get in is at least 15 minutes because there's a timed workout that I'll do that is called a wake up workout. That's essentially what it is. So, and I'm one that can't necessarily like wake up. I'm hard at falling asleep and I'm hard at waking up. Like those are my two hard things. Like ideally my body wants to go to bed at like 3:00 in the morning and it wants to wake up at like 10. Like that's what my body's trying to do. And I've always fought that for my entire life. It didn't matter when it was. Once I'm asleep, I'm good, but I want to stay asleep.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm getting up, I kind of just need to wake up a little bit and get woken up. But generally, I'll go to work or whatever, and then on my first break, that's when I'll do my yoga. And a lot of the reason why too, I try to do it twice a day, is because I'm sitting in a chair for a long extended period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to stretch out. But you would be surprised, just meditation, breathing exercises, and some stretching, what it would do for your mental health.
Oh yeah,
I'll be honest, it kind of makes you, it kind of just makes you a little more cheery for some reason. I don't know why. Like it just kind of brings up your mood. And it may be like you're saying, it's just because you're doing something.
Oh yeah, no, like, that's what I tell people. Working out's really helped with my depression, and it makes me more motivated. Like what Nick's saying, like right there, like instead of like sitting down after he finishes his workout, he goes and does more stuff.
Yeah, it
that's,
motivates.
Dude, that's me. Like when I finish the workout, I want to go do more stuff. Like I want to immediately get on the laptop and start designing something, or like I mean, there have been times I've literally finished a workout and done another workout right after. Like I mean, honestly, before I was doing the graphic design, that's what me and Nick had like a heart to heart. I was like, dude, I'm sitting there working like 3 times a day now, like just because I'm trying to fill in that time and not doing nothing. And it was just like I'd wake up and do my abs, then I might do like a boxing workout, then like hours later just like grab the freaking like my dumbbells and just walk up and down I have a pretty big staircase going to the second story, like it's like 13 14 steps, just go up and down for just 10 minutes, just like taking like little breaks in between, just trying to do something, because it's like when you start doing more, it's kind of like eating, like your stomach, like it grows and shrinks based off how much you try to take in, right? So like that thing, it becomes easier to eat more over time or less depending on how much you actually try to take in. Same way with your energy levels and your exercise or just like activity. Like if you start doing more, you like lessen how often you're just sitting in front of a TV or in front of like your phone, stuff like that. The more you're gonna want to do, because it feels good to do stuff. Like I mean, I don't care who you are. You want to say something? You go.
Well, I was gonna say, like you said earlier, it's not always stuff that you necessarily want to do.
No. I mean, you're not gonna want to do most of it at first.
Yeah.
That's a very good chance you don't want to do it.
Even me, there's still a lot of things I don't love to do, but there's a good feeling that you get from being productive.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And stuff like that. So I mean,
it's just rewarding.
Yeah.
After.
It's like going on a hike. You guys talked about in the podcast with Branch, I think it was. Like,
yeah, he wants to hike.
The most productive workout is hiking, and the reason I've always said that is because when you get to the top and you see the view, you're rewarded immediately. But like any workout honestly does that to you, like with that self-accomplishment you feel for getting something done, dude.
Yeah.
And like it can be so infectious. Like that's motivation. That's the motivation you need to draw, and you need to be addicted to that. And that might be the best way to explain like why I feel like I have to do so much, is because I feel so accomplished when I get something done.
Yeah. I kind of want to go back to, because we were talking about kind of people or therapists and medication.
Yeah.
And the reason why I want to bring that up is because it sounded like my mother's situation is very similar to your mother's when it comes to that stuff. And in my mom's case, where she is, disabled, and that's probably causing and helping a lot of that depression or things like that. My mom seems to be happier and functions when she has the medication. It works for her. No negative side effects, no weirdness or anything. But when she's off of it, and this was even before she started this in particular medication, there was just a lot of, I'm just gonna call it what it is, and sorry, Mama, but there's a lot of crying that occurs, and it could be about anything randomly, things like that. But in her case, she's, with her being disabled, there's only so much she can do.
Yeah.
So in a case like that, do you think medication is okay?
Oh, well, so that's the thing too, is like I think that medication is a solution, but I think it should be your last solution.
Yeah.
I think that before we sell you a pill and tell you,
she can't walk up a mountain.
Exactly, of
like
course.
she can't.
I think that's what Blake was
She
trying to say,
can't.
was that she's physically
Yeah, I totally understand
Yeah.
that. I mean, like, if there's no way for you to work on it, then take the medicine. I mean, I don't want you to live depressed, of course,
Yeah.
but like, there are people that are able-bodied like us getting diagnosed with anxiety or depression and getting medicine now and living their life on that instead of ever trying to do anything to work on it. Like, I mean, the thing is, I'm big on let's not just address a problem. Let's try to fix the problem if we can. That's big to me. So like, instead of just putting Band-Aids on the bullet wound, let's try to take the bullet out. So like, in your mom's case, it totally makes sense.
Okay.
100%, bro.
So there are situations
Of
you think
course.
that would.
Yeah,
Okay.
like, none of my opinions are like set in stone. I'm very fluid with every opinion I have, whether it's political, sports. Like, I've always been very fluid because there's obviously the extremities to everything.
There's gray areas.
Exactly.
There's gray
So it's
areas.
like, to me, I just don't want to see, like, you know, a friend of mine, like, I'll just be in general, I won't like address anybody specifically, just like take an anxiety medication that, you know, changes your entire mood because you're afraid to talk to people instead of maybe just like, how are you doing? Just like, you know, hello, just saying hello to people as you
Just
go
trying.
by. Then over time amplifying, because the more you normalize
Even if it came out
things-
awkward.
Exactly.
Even if it came out.
I could just see Dylan like in Walmart, like every single person go, hello.
No. Honestly, though, that's not far off the truth. If I make eye contact with you, because I always walk with my head up, I don't walk with my head down anywhere I go.
Yeah.
If we make eye contact, I will always address you. I'll either head nod you or I'll say, like, how are you doing, stuff like that. Like, when I worked at Krispy Kreme and I was going into, as a driver, like, and I was going into stores, if I saw anybody, I was always like, good morning, how are you, stuff like that. Because the more you practice things, even if it's uncomfortable, the more it becomes normal. That's anything in life, right? Like, you're not born good at guitar. You have to get good at it by practicing. So it's like, if you have social anxieties, the only way to try to work through that, besides taking
Be
medicine,
social.
is to actually try to be some form of social. And that's so easy to say, because what the argument that's going to be is, Dylan, that's a lot easier said than done when you don't have social anxiety. I'm fully aware that it's difficult. But like we said earlier, most people don't want to do that hard work.
Yeah.
They want the pill. They want the thing that makes it easier right away. And you know, if you want to be that person, live your life however you want. I'm not going to ever interject what I do into what you do.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to let you into my world. I'm
That
just trying
you
to tell you, like,
can't-
hey, look.
If you can even get a little bit of what you're saying,
Yeah.
if you can even try a little bit, then you can help yourself if you want it.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, I'll give you an example. I mean, here in probably just the last couple of years at there was a period with my acoustic stuff, like my solo shows and everything. Like, you know, why am I not at like James Vincent Carroll level yet? You know, and James Vincent Carroll, he's like the most popular solo acoustic artist, pretty much probably in North Carolina, or at least in this part of North Carolina. Shout out to James once again. But so I would always wonder, like, why am I not in his level yet? Like, why, you know, why are
Like, what is he doing that
what is
I'm
he
not
doing
doing?
that I'm not doing, you know, and stuff. So I started, like, in between, in my breaks, you know, if I play like a 3-hour set, I'll do like one break, you know, in the middle, for like 10, 15 minutes, something like that. So I'm like, in that time, what I used to do was just go sit down and chill until time to start the second set. And depending on the situation, I mean, I might still do that, but most of the time, like, if there's like not anybody there, you know, but I need to kind of, I guess, get to my point. I'll take my business cards and
Start networking.
I'll go up to the people that I feel like have been kind of listening and enjoying to what I'm doing, because there's a lot of people at these wineries and restaurants that literally don't give two shits.
I'm assuming that's uncomfortable at first too, right? I mean, yes.
And I literally get kind of, I won't say terrified of doing it, but like I've always considered myself slightly socially awkward. I don't know if I necessarily have anxiety about it, although maybe those could be sort of intertwined into the same thing, but I feel like I guess I feel like I'm worried I'm just gonna like not know what to say or say something stupid or something like that. But I try my best to go up to people that seem like they enjoy what I'm doing and just try to make small talk. You know, try to, you know, ask them if they're from around the area, if they come here a lot, you know, stuff like that. And I'll hand them a business card and do that. And then, like, you know, actually, like this upcoming weekend, I'm actually doing something that's totally different for me, just with talking about my photography. I'm doing a wedding showcase. And I actually started thinking about it on the way here. I was like, man, I'm going to have to like answer questions probably that don't even know if I'm prepared to answer, you know, but
We'll circle back.
but it's but yeah. So, but I'm trying to generate more business. You know, I'm wanting to get into weddings and stuff for photography, and so this opportunity came up for me to do it, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. But I know that I'm gonna have to put on my best professional voice and you know, be social with a lot of people. So I don't know how it's gonna go, but I know I'm gonna be incredibly professional about it, and you know, try my best to.
And that's effort. And you can't
Just
get better
doing
without
it.
the effort. And it's like I just think like to your medicine thing is like, not I don't want to beat a dead horse, but if I give you a pill, you're 22 years old, you come to me, you have anxiety, you know, let's say you have anxiety attacks, stuff like that. Instead of me ever trying to tell you ways to maybe distract yourself, to give you any form of treatment that might actually be, you know, an idea before you get to the pills, I think that I see more people getting the pill now. And that's like depressing to me because like to me, I'm in the camp of I don't want to just, you know, I don't want to live with this problem. I want to fix this problem. I don't think I'll ever cure my depression. But if I can, you know, push that away, I'm going to do everything I can than to letting it come in.
So to kind of ask on that, do you think that's societal or do you think that's individual? Like, why are we going with the pill? Do you think it's the individual going, I want the quick fix? Or do you think, like, well, a lot of people say that...
I really think it might be societal at this point.
It could be, let's push the pill on them and tell them it's the quick fix.
I think there's a lot of
and it's
that.
the best situation.
There is definitely a lot of that. If you don't want to talk about mental health, there's a lot of that with pharmaceuticals.
We don't have to go
I don't
too
want to
deep
get I don't
want to
get like balls deep with the tinfoil hat, but I mean to try to pretend like the pharmaceutical companies don't have a very big impact on a lot of this shit and pretty much run a lot of this country, you'd be kind of a fucking retard to not believe that. But I mean at the same time, I think it goes back to the attention spans. I don't think most people want to work. I don't think most people want.
So you think it could be a little bit of both, really?
It definitely is a little bit of both. It definitely is a little bit of both. I don't think that therapists are bad people. I don't think that doctors are bad people. I think they all get into their fields for the most part to actually make a good difference.
We all know they're told to push a product, you know,
100%.
And if they see a situation that pill or something can go towards, I know they go, well, here, try this.
Yeah, and my big thing on therapists can make you realize your problem, but a therapist will never cure your problem. You will be the only person that can make, and that's what I said, like, you know, your actions are a lot more powerful than your words. That's not, I mean, I didn't come up with that, obviously, that's, you know, you heard it your whole life, but it's like, at the end of the day, it's really easy to say, I'm going to quit smoking. I'm going to quit, you know, drinking. Like, for me, I'll tell you what I did in the last year, what I've done. Nick can tell you, anywhere I ever went, I drank sweet tea. I drank sodas too before, but then I cut it to just sweet tea. And then I switched to just water. Now, like, if I told myself 2 years ago that's what we're doing, that would be fucking bonkers. I mean, like, I remember when
sweet tea man.
When Nick first like went out with me and he was like, water? Because Nick always got water.
Yeah, dude, it was the craziest thing.
Yeah.
Like,
and I cut water. It started there. Then I cut out all processed sugars out of my diet. So like now the only sugar I take in is like raw, natural honey.
That's good, man.
And then like organic maple syrup, like directly from the tree shit. Is only sugars I take in my whole diet. Now, like, I mean, there are like obviously sugars in some fruit.
Yeah.
And then sugars in like
you're talking about
anything natural,
occurring.
nothing like added in, stuff like that. Like that was tough.
That
was a tough thing to fucking do, bro. And it was like
I've got on the I still eat sugar and shit, but I've got on at least getting into a diet drink.
The direction.
And I've done that for a while, and here soon it's time to get rid of the soda altogether. But I also, not to veer too far off subject, but do you think there, like, just in your personal opinion, are there situations where that pill might help somebody for a year?
Oh, there's
and if they can just get off 100%. Of it after, they're much better than where they started.
100%. I just have serious doubts on how often people are willing to do the extra stuff.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I think most people
Well, if
work.
that kind of aided them into fixing
Oh man,
their
yeah. If you're
issues,
somebody and you're like,
and then they feel like, I don't need this pill anymore.
yeah, but that also sounds a lot like people to me that like battle drug addiction and then start smoking pot and say, well, at least I'm not doing the other drug.
Yeah.
So like to me, like if you could really do that and you could guarantee that,
Yeah.
fucking give it to everybody.
And with that too, I think personally, I think you can battle drug addiction with marijuana.
No. I agree with that
But-
100% too. 100%.
But if it completely makes you unproductive, then
Yeah.
and you're like smoking it constantly and you're just dumb as a sack of rocks,
Yeah.
then it's not. Is it truly bettering you? Is
Exactly.
it truly? Yeah, it's healthier, but you're still not a functioning member of society.
It's like when that episode of Family Guy where Meg is like addicted to pot. And she's like laying
Addicted
flat
to
on the
pot.
couch.
Oh,
yeah, she got all flat like the
Yeah.
commercials.
This dude's like, ever since she started smoking pot, she just kind of lays.
But I've always told people that, like, anyone that has issue, because I've obviously dealt with it for a long span of time too, but I've always tried to tell people who ask me questions that, always remember that anxiety is not something you're creating. It's not something that is unnatural. If you didn't have a sense of anxiety from nature, then how did you know that a tiger was behind you about to get your ass back in the day? I'm just trying to say, like, if you didn't have some sort of, a little bit of paranoia or some sort of anxiety, how did you survive? How did humans survive?
Oh yeah.
So and depression,
It's a survival instinct. Realistically.
Exactly. Anxiety is. Now, when it gets out of control, I think that's when it needs to be handled. But I don't think there is curing anxiety. I think you're always going to have anxiety because
100%.
it's natural occurring.
Oh yeah. 100%. You're always gonna be. You're always gonna have some anxieties, and I still have them to this day over certain things. Like, I mean, if I stop doing stuff, for example, like when I transferred to the new location that I work at in Winston, I was getting bad anxiety because it's a slower business there and there's less work to do.
Less work.
I literally was having like a panic attack at work because I wasn't doing more work. So it's like I definitely understand that and I mean that's definitely 100% made by me, just like in my work ethic. So like I mean I get that. I don't think you can cure that thing. I don't think you can cure depression. I don't think you can cure some of the things that you're like naturally born with. But like to me, like we said,
Can you cope with it?
Can you battle it
Can you
without
cope with
the
it?
physical and mental addiction? Because the thing is,
Or make it something that is a positive.
Well, you said your mom has no side effects from the medicine she's taking right now for her depression.
For her depression, in
There
particular.
have been multiple medicines my mom took growing up that did affect her, and that's the thing too.
There are that did affect her too,
and that's huge. And so
So-
like, if I'm completely altering who you are to subside one thing on this, like this over here, are you better or like are you different? Like so that's.
Yeah.
Like I agree. Like if someone could like take it, for example, for that year and then really work on it after the year after it's really calmed down, all for it. I just think that you're a lot more likely to see somebody take it for a year and then subscribe to the medicine over and over because it's
and
easier.
keep the therapist.
And that's literally what I was talking about
not
earlier.
work
You
on
train your
themselves.
brain when you make decisions like that to take the easy route,
Yeah.
and it never makes you more. It never makes you better as a person. It only makes you softer over time because you're going to do that to everything. It's infectious.
I want to give you another situation too, since you have a lot of knowledge on this. Obviously we all have our own anxieties, but I've got a big one that in particularly, and Nick's sort of going to believe this once I explain it, and you've probably heard me say this before, but in scenario of there's two things correlated with it. And a little bit of it is claustrophobia, and a little bit of it is me being a little antisocial. But I just can't do big crowds. And saying that as a musician is very hard. But when I'm on stage, it's a little different.
There's a separation. There's almost a glass pane between you
Yes.
because
I've got my area,
Yeah.
you've got yours. But as soon as I meet that crowd, and you probably understand this now, where do I go, Nick?
To the outside.
I get the fuck
I was
out
thinking
of
that
there.
every time we've
I
ever
get
had
the
to get
fuck
together,
out of
usually
there.
outside.
And do you think that's unhealthy for me to cope with it that way.
I don't know.
And if people walk up to me after that, we're good. We're fine. But I'm not in the middle of fucking everyone.
Well, I'll say this. I don't know if it's unhealthy. For sure, it can't be unhealthy because the reality is it's never going to make you worse in your life being afraid of crowds. Unless you're one day
I'm
in
not
a
really
boardroom.
afraid of crowds. Like I get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And then I start like reacting in a stupid way where I'm just like, get the fuck out, or I start getting irritated, or I become a different person, and I don't like that. Like, I don't like doing that.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
In relation to this, this is me asking Austin.
Yeah, I got you.
We don't have cameras.
We will soon, though.
So earlier we had like made a short mention. Dylan and I we went on a cruise together a few years ago, and it was really fun. And y'all are going on a cruise, you and Steph. And,
Yeah.
Enjoy that. Enjoy that.
But Steph has told me, or maybe Steph told Brianna and Brianna told me, but she said that you were asking questions like, well, what if I just want to
Can I get away? Can I get away at some point?
Sort of like a similar thing.
Yeah, so it's if I need to get away, because I realize in those situations, there's some situations I can't control.
Well, you're out in the middle of
Like,
the ocean, so there's
if
only so
I
many
go,
places you can
yeah,
go.
but if I go and see a band or something like that, I generally find a place. I find a place in the crowd. My favorite place is always behind the sound guy. One, because I'm not even worried about the view. I get the best of both worlds because I'm hearing exactly what the sound guy's hearing. And also, two, that's typically towards the back. So somewhere around the back is better for me. And I always did that in classrooms too, where I veered. I'd never sat in the front of the classroom. I sat in the back corner. I sat as far away from a teacher as I could, but in the crowd, because if I was sitting in a corner, okay, well, there's only so many people that could be near me. And it's not that I don't want people around me or anything like that. It's not that I'm being completely antisocial. It's just, I don't want every fucking body like on top of me. I don't want that pressure. But I was asking that question more or less is like, if I get overwhelmed, if I start to if that anxiety pops up, can I get away and just go to the fucking room?
Well, see,
And
the
she
thing
said
about
absolutely.
yours is, I think
So-
that yours is like that's a very healthy way to handle it, honestly, because if you know that you're going to
I feel it. I feel
mentally
it coming.
stress yourself
and-
out, then yeah, you should get away. Because the only way I would say that's not going to benefit you is if one day you're in a boardroom giving like a business meeting in front of a bunch of people and you can't speak to them. So that's my thing. As long
I've
as
never had problem with public speaking either.
then you're fine.
I've
Like,
never. So like if I had to go give a presentation, that's fine and dandy because I still felt like I had the floor. I had something.
Well, also too, I mean,
I had some sort of separation.
for as long as you can remember, you've gotten on stages and played your musical instrument in front of lots of people before, and that in itself,
It's not that I'm like afraid to perform or anything.
you don't have
I'm-
a problem then.
I'm
That's not a problem.
okay. So I was just saying like I understand that I'm handling it a certain way, but I don't.
But you're handling it. That's the point.
But I'm doing it from the perspective of me and not from everybody looking.
Because you're not going home from the party,
know.
you're just going outside, and you're still talking. Like me and you, like literally sat
Yeah.
on your fucking back porch and talked for an hour one time. Like you're talking about music, I didn't even know what half the fucking shit you were talking about, but we were just talking. Like,
But the outside too, that's another reason why I go outside is because fucking look at all this space.
yeah,
Look at all this space and all this space that we can share instead
the
of
difference
inside.
would be is if you didn't go to get-togethers with your friends because of the large crowd scaring you. That's when it would be a problem. But because you show
large
up,
crowd develops and then
Yeah.
I adapt.
but
is
you
what
still
I do.
you don't seclude yourself from the party alone. You usually are like outside. You used to smoke, and you were outside
Yeah.
like with your friends.
I still go outside, even though I vape now, but and I use pouches. Trying to get away from the vape and onto the pouches.
So that's not even a problem. What you're talking about is pure. I mean, because you are handling it without medicine or anything like that.
And I'm not. I
And
don't feel like I'm harming. I almost feel like people sometimes get upset with me because I'm like, they almost feel like I'm distancing myself from them in those situations
Well, your
where
real
it's just
friends
like,
will really know that that's a thing.
yeah, that's not exactly what I'm trying to do. Because if people follow me or talk to me while I'm outside or while I'm away from the crowd, it's not like I have a problem with having that conversation.
Well, I noticed that. I'd like say, for example, when me and
I like the space.
Me and Needham are like playing at Foothills. You and Steph tend to come out most times. We play up there and stuff. And and I've known you like for a really long time, so you always make it a point to come in. You'll listen to a good portion of the songs. You even come up and jam with us and stuff like that. But then other times you're outside chilling.
If it gets busy,
yeah,
I typically end up
so
outside.
It can get cramped in there, and so no, I totally. I mean, and I don't ever feel like disrespected.
Yeah, I'll tell you
like
one situation that really irked me. This is where it happened. This is where I had like that breakdown moment, and I became an asshole before the situation even arose. I was not having a good day one day. I got off work. I think it was a Friday, and I was just not all clear. What I needed to do is I needed Austin time, meaning I needed time alone. I needed to kind of figure some shit out. I probably needed the night, is what I'm trying to say. And tomorrow would have been a completely new day to kind of fix things. But I remember, and Needham's going to listen to this, and he might understand, he might not. But he messaged Steph and said, in this situation, Needham had messaged Steph, and it was a situation that he was messaging me, and I was distancing myself from my phone. So I was not currently available, let's just say. I wasn't my phone was not near me because it was part of my frustrations or whatever it was. So I didn't get the message. I didn't get the message from Needham, so he messaged Steph, and she goes, Needham says he's got a surprise, you need to come up to Foothills. And I was like, no, I really don't want to, and then she's like, well, he's got a surprise for us. He says he wants us to come up there. And I was just like, it's not the day. If you want to go, but I don't want to go. And then he in which told Steph what it was, but would not tell me. And that made the anxiety 10 times worse.
Now you feel responsible, like you're holding everybody back from it.
Exactly. I went from like stressed to like a 75 to 100 real damn quick, and became the biggest asshole in that situation. I showed my ass at this house, and basically pitched a bitch fit is what I did. I feel so guilty for when I have situations where I act like that, but I let my anxiety take me to that point. And that's what a lot of what I try to avoid, because I think a lot of us know how horrible we can be, and how horrible we can be to other
Probably
people.
Also had some like
and you want to
pent-up
prevent
aggression
that.
too.
Exactly. I was pissed off from the day, so it was not going. And it's not like I was like punching holes in the wall. I wasn't beating the dog. I wasn't beating her. I'm just trying to say that I was having a bad day, and that pissed me off even more, that I couldn't even know why I was going the fuck up there. And finally she broke down and told me, and it was because Elijah was home. Now, of course, I wanted to see Elijah, and that's Needham's younger brother. He went off into the military. To give some context, he's a Marine, and he was home.
Shout out to Elijah.
Yeah, shout out to Elijah. But he was home for a little bit for Halloween, and we hadn't seen him in a while, so we wanted to catch up with him. But I was like, and it has to be tonight. And it's got to be at Foothills.
Yeah, Needham,
and
he sent me the same message too. Now that you brought this up, he sent me the message, but I was not in King at the time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I guess I would have went up there, but I could not physically get there.
So either way,
but I found out later on that's what it was.
After making myself look like this big asshole, luckily it was just in front of Steph. I broke down and I went. And, of course, we drove by, and it's fucking packed. It's packed to the brim. Like, just, everybody's there having a little party for Elijah. That's kind of what was happening. And so I go and park, and Steph gets out and goes to talk to people, but I told her to, and I told her, I was like, give me a second to kind of process this, and I'll make my way up. And I did, and I went and stayed for probably 45 minutes, and I stayed outside. And I specifically talked to like Tyler, Matt, and Elijah, and that was about it. That was my interaction. And then I fucking left. but I was pretty ashamed of myself for the way I had acted
Well, you
over
always
this
get
situation.
embarrassed when you get mad. You
Oh
always
yeah.
do.
But it was just so silly. It seems so silly when I think about it. Like, why do you have a problem dealing with fucking people? And I think for me it's because I like giving attention to everyone if I can. I don't want to feel like anyone that's talking to me, I don't want them to feel like they're being ignored or anything like that. But but also too, I guess I need to realize that, like, that's not on me. Like, it's gonna happen. Like, shit's gonna happen. But just letting myself get to that point was just so. So it was like, after the fact, just looking back at it, I was just like, that is so silly. But I know I could very easily let that happen again, just because of my anxiety,
Well, I remember too, back on that, it was like back in, but right before COVID hit, the girlfriends went. The ladies went to Wilmington, I think is what it was. And me and Needham were trying to, I think you were having a similar episode. Me and Needham I think went to.
Did I have a moment?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was like through text, so I don't know how exactly you were reacting, but we were trying to get you to go to Blind Tiger with us. Yeah, and
I remember
you didn't
that
want to go.
And I was like, no.
Which we obviously wanted you to go, and I mean, we still went and had a good time and everything, so it's not like it was like the hugest deal in the world. So then, but you're my friend, and so I was like, I don't give a shit if I'm not invited or whatever. I'm going to go over there like the next day, come over here and just hang out, you know,
they
and stuff
ended up
like
coming
that.
over here.
Yeah, it was like me and
They brought
Cody.
me a beer.
Well, no,
Someone
I don't
brought
think
me a beer.
I don't think Needham came, but you were putting that shelf up, and me and Cody were here.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
Kind of helping, but
yeah, maybe I'd had a bad night before.
Yeah, but
I battle my shit. Like, I'm battling it constantly, but for the most part, I've got a way that I think I cope with things. There's not, there's things that I do that are bad, I think, but I don't think it's like, I'm never endangering or hurting or affecting someone else. I try to remove, if I feel like I'm going to affect somebody's mood or something like that, I try to remove myself quick.
Well, I think one of the big points that kind of brings us back to the therapy thing that Dylan was harping at in the beginning is, like, while therapists are definitely qualified to help people, sometimes, I mean, it's just the things that you can do yourself, like working out or literally surrounding yourself with people that care about you and allowing those people to, you don't have to necessarily even come to them. Like I'm saying, like, I came to you and it was like, allow them to do that at least. Don't just block them out completely. I mean, take time for yourself if you need to, but like, allow the people
it depends on those moments, really.
Yeah.
It depends in like, if I'm in the moment and, like, let's say I'm having a bad night or something like that, and it's 10 o'clock, then I'm done. Like, nobody jump on me that night or try to interject, or, because you're not going to fix anything. It's going to inevitably push me to do what I'm trying to avoid, like pushing someone into it. But I do, it does help someone that battles those things for someone to acknowledge it, and then, when you're in a better state of mind, be there for you. I think that definitely does help. You got to have a support group.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that if you're somebody you have a hard time with that objectivity, you need the therapist more than likely. Because, like, I'm very good at identifying my problems. Not everybody can do that, and it takes a lot of, not to sound arrogant, but maturity that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah, you have to be critical of yourself.
You have to be able to really look in the mirror and understand, but also have complex thought about why. Like, that's a big thing with me. It's like, I always want to know why I do or think the way that I think. Like, that's how it took me so long to realize I had depression. It took me so long to just be honest and say,
acknowledge it.
Like, in the moments where I would feel it, I would literally tell myself, you don't deserve to be depressed. Why do you think you're depressed right now? What do you have to be depressed about?
Yeah.
And, like, that's what made me realize that I was I was like, that cycle is what made me realize that I battle depression. It's like, I'm literally telling myself I don't deserve to be depressed.
That's depression.
It's like literally causing it to be worse. Like, So that whole thing is like, it took me a while to get to that point. So, I mean, a therapist would have benefited me up until then. So, of course, I don't disagree. Like, I don't think they shouldn't exist. I don't think you shouldn't go. If you have a hard time
You
getting...
think there's a limit, basically?
Yeah, I don't...
There's a limitation as to what they can do.
Yeah. It's like, they're never going to actually fix your problem. They might help you get there, bro. I mean, like, an assist is just as important as the basket, right? I mean, in basketball. So, like, you can't get the touchdown pass without the quarterback throwing it. Like, I mean, it's equal give and take when it comes
But you
to
got to
stuff
catch
like
that ball, and you got to take
it.
Yeah, right. Or
running
a
back
receiver,
might-
depending on the-
Somebody might be a
Joe and
receiver
Joe-
pass.
But you still have to catch the ball and get it in the end zone.
And at the end of
You
the
still
day,
have to.
that's what you have to focus on.
Yeah.
Give credit to the people that help you along the way. But when you start to really like open up your eyes to the successes that you're causing, that's why working out, hiking, I mean, like those things that like have those rewards when you're done, that adrenaline rush at the end, that feel of like accomplishment is so rewarding because you did it.
Yeah.
Nobody did that but you. You pushed through the workout. You got through it. Even if it was grueling and you don't want to do it the next day, you did it right there in the fucking moment. And you can be proud of that. And that's how you battle the depression, the things that like, like all the things that can try to hold you back. That's what you need to chase, is that feeling.
Do something hard, people. Do something hard.
I don't know how much longer you guys want to go. I know you guys wanted to do sports.
Oh, we've got we can kind of do whatever we want to. Really.
No, like I'm down for as late as you want. I'm
that was
off
a great
tomorrow.
Conversation.
No, we can keep going in that too. Like I've got plenty.
We are going until 3:27 a.m. I'm
Dude,
just letting
I mean,
you know.
like I'm not gonna lie to you.
Imagine how long that would take to render.
Well, I know we've sort of kind of touched upon the graphic design stuff, but I do kind of want to segue into that. And I know that like Nick doesn't have a whole lot of experience in that, but you definitely have to have some sort of knowledge being a photographer as to exactly,
Colors.
Yeah, I mean, how some of the software works, and also how you're setting up an image, because you're essentially doing the same thing we are. You're just doing it from a real life thing. So like as far as graphic design in general, this is more for Dylan, but just like what are you finding yourself like gravitating towards, or what do you enjoy kind of putting together?
Well, so far, what I've liked is my 2D character project, where I'm trying to take accents of like a person's character and apply it to what I'm making. So, like for example, my wife, her gamer tag on PSN was Scarlet Rose, right? So, I made her as my first character, and I made an elf-like character that had like a scarlet red armor that was with like rose petals, and like on the top of the staff it is a literal rose that I hand drew, like, and then like I gave it like a crown of thorns with roses in it and stuff like that.
You're physically drawing some too.
Yeah. Well, most of it is all I mean, like I'd say I do a lot of scaling with like line tools and stuff like that, but I mean there's a lot of hand drawn stuff too, and so that's what really gets my like that whole project and where it could go is where I draw most of the inspiration for what I want to do. Like, so like I made Nick as well, and I made Nick a what's the like a reptile like person. Like that's what I was telling him I was gonna do, because I wanted to have his tongue out to represent Kiss.
Okay.
Yeah, because he was such a big Kiss fan growing up.
Did you put it on your Facebook page?
Yeah, I think it. Yeah, those both might be on there. Actually,
I'd like to see it. Actually, that might be a good thing for y'all to send me to kind of plug into the YouTube video.
Yeah, I think
I don't see the one you made for me for like the lizard guy.
Oh, that might not be on there.
The Nick Branscombe logo thing. But so your Facebook page is Insomniac Designs.
Yeah,
is what it is. So if you're trying to go look up some of his awesome work, he's got a lot of these 2D characters that look. Dude, this one guy is pretty cool. It's like
that's the one that I based off Brad.
Okay, so Brad Essick. Okay. Yeah. So he's got the one thing I will say about this one is like it looks like he's like bleeding from his penis.
Which one?
Is that on purpose?
Oh, it's because the axes.
Yeah, it's because the axes are right there. But it looks really good though.
With that sort of thing, is that is that something maybe you could commission, like somebody, like if?
Well, that
if they
was my
wanted-
idea, was that somebody would eventually see the character. That's the one for
That's the
my wife.
Rebecca one he was talking
Okay,
about.
But like, if somebody wanted me to do one for them, of course, that's the end goal is for them
that's
to.
kind of the
Especially if I make a community out of whatever can come out of that, and people want to be a part of it, like with the way that the metaverse and NFTs are expanding. Like if somebody, sees that as a community, like an avatar-like community that they want to be a part of, I don't know where it could go. So that's what, like, having just the base of characters alone allows the possibilities to be almost endless with the way that the metaverse and all that's growing. So, like I guess with Nick, I gave him like a tongue out like kiss. I even made a like Gibson Explorer like down like I did the Gibson SG style guitar. I have it literally detailed out the same way, like except I don't have the headstock matching because I think in that I did more focus on the back end to make it look like a sharp blade.
You might have emailed it to me, actually.
I might have.
Well, like, I know you mentioned kind of metaverse and NFT stuff. Is that something that kind of drove you into getting into? Because I've heard of a lot of artists starting to get into that, like in doing a daily
I'm not
draw.
a genius on how any of that stuff truly is too much. Like I know a lot of the basics of stuff, but I just think digital ownership is going to be huge because I relate it to, you have those Yu-Gi-Oh cards up there. I remember going to school, showing your friends the cards that you pulled out of packs and shit like that.
Yeah.
And a big thing with kids is the customizable, not even customizable, just the things that separate you from other kids. So like if you had a card that other kids didn't have, you were fucking
you
badass.
felt like big shit.
Yeah, exactly. So to me, customization is becoming huge. If you go online to buy anything right now, everything they're trying to sell you is things that you customize and create yourself because that's big. People want things that represent them in their house. People don't just want generic sayings anymore. They want something that feels like them.
So when you talk about like digital ownership of something like that, like that's customizable, meaning you're purchasing, I guess, something that is going to inevitably be yours, but it may be the only thing of itself. Is the point just owning it?
Well, that's the point of any of it, essentially, right?
It's just owning it.
Yeah, I mean, it's artwork that expresses you, like the way I imagine it. So hypothetically, let's say you wanted to.
Is there any place you would like, I guess, put this?
Well, that's
art
what I
and
hope it
stuff?
could get to. If I could
Okay.
expand this, like, probably best case scenario is I sell it to somebody who knows how to actually do it, right? Like I build something that people like see value and then they buy it from me and then they do it. But to me, I would love for it to be
Like a virtual art gallery.
that.
thing.
Well, I mean, that essentially is what NFTs are to an extent. But I mean,
Yeah.
like a TV show, like an anime, a game, a card game. Like to me, I would want it to become something. I don't know
Yeah.
what.
So those characters, you're saying not as in designing them and drawing them, they could potentially. You don't necessarily know what the outcome will be, but
Yeah, and if people are,
you're hoping it will
yeah.
evolve into just something.
Yeah,
you
I'm
know,
hoping that people come to me eventually and start saying, "Hey, look, like I have this idea. Like I like this idea of me looking like I don't know, an angel. I don't know,
Yeah.
like whatever. Or like I'm really big into football. Make me like a football guy. Like I took the accents of Nick's character and made Nick. Our friend David Doyle, you might know this. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he's Asian. I made him a samurai. I literally made like an armor set. Like that might be actually on Facebook too. I'm not sure if I put that on Facebook or not. But like I literally like hand did like the face, like like they have the ghost mask on.
Yeah.
Like I made all of that.
They could
No,
very
that's actually the one I
easily-
just made for me.
Oh.
It's a blue.
Oh, this
demon of
one?
some
This
sort.
one.
There's a blue one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like I mean, like I hand did all of like the armor for that and the texture on it, and like I'm taking like accents of the character itself or just from like the person, like, and that's what I
individual.
want. I hope someone comes to me and says, "Hey, this is my personality trait. This is what something I'm interested in. Give me your subject, and I will put it
Well,
into the creativity."
It's funny you say that about my character being like Kiss because that's essentially what Kiss did when they had the idea of putting makeup on as a band.
Like over-exaggerating.
Each person was their own idea, because they could have all had like a symmetrical looking makeup idea, but like they decided that each makeup was going to be an extension of their personality. So like Ace Frehley was really into technology and space, and Gene Simmons was really into horror movies, and Paul Stanley always wanted to be a star, and Peter Criss loved cats. So
Peter Criss loved cats.
so
Oh, poor Peter Criss.
But it's essentially, yeah. So that's
Yeah,
a similar
just
thing.
taking like whatever defines you and make you, and then like I don't want to rip people off and sell them something that there's no access to. I hope that I could make something that amplifies into like a big like community, like, and everybody, like if there was like a way that somebody could 3D render these things and like take it out of my hands, take the product and make it into something better, that'd be even cooler. Because like to me, I don't just want you to just have something in your pocket. Like my brain works a lot bigger than that. Like I want it to be something. If I did the trading card game, like I didn't mention this part, I have everybody saved under 3 categories: hero, anti-hero, and villain, because I'm such a big like
You're
comic book
already
hero
kinda setting
fan.
it up.
I've already got it like kind of mentioned, and I've thought about like with their backstories, like when you buy Yu-Gi-Oh cards, they all have like a story or like a description under it,
some sort of description.
stuff like that. It's like I've got the baselining of the idea that I want people separated based off of their characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like I've always been fascinated with villains really, and then anti-heroes, because I think they have the best stories, because they have, I mean, most like Superman, very basic.
yeah.
Batman, I mean, it's not as basic, but still like a relatively like repetitive style of figure. Oh, I lost a parent or someone close to me. Now, like, I fight for justice. Like, but where your creativity comes from is your villains. So like to me, I've always been fascinated with coming up with people that have a cool backstory. And then the ones that really interest me are the ones that are like we named our dog Venom, like that like aren't all the way good. They're like a mixed bag and stuff like that. It's like that kind of shit like really interests me, like
Yeah.
their stories. So like if I
A
could make
bad
it
Santa,
into like a
like,
yeah.
yeah.
But like if I can make it into like a anime even, where like all of the stories could somehow intertwine, or maybe they're in their own world, and it's just like a series of stories
yeah.
that you're like living with them. Like I don't know like where it goes, man, but I mean, it's just it's exciting to me. And like I try to, I've even separated it by like I put colored backgrounds behind everybody. If I put a gold background, you're supposed to be one of like the most powerful characters. If I put a silver, you're less powerful.
Okay.
And then there's bronze. Like I've tried to like have the baselinings without any of the real context of it, so that it can kind of go wherever. And if I make like a big enough like character base, stuff like that, maybe I'll have a better idea by then of what I really want to do with it.
Yeah.
If you were going to do one for Blakely, what would it be?
Oh no.
I don't know. What do you think defines you? I would want your input. I don't want to just like, I know
What?
Nick better than most people know Nick, so I can know what I do for Nick.
Yeah.
Like me and you are relatively acquaintances. Like we're friends, but in like a loose sense.
I don't know what defines me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm messing a lot of shit.
So I would hope, and that is the exact reason why I would hope that you would come to me and say, I've always saw myself as this. Like I made my guy. He pulled it up as the most recent one I've done, because I made an original character for me. And I've always thought my mentality is noble. So I wanted to be a knight. I wanted to be
Okay.
like not because I'm so arrogant, just because it's like like my level of respect for hard work and my mentality, I think, like that's what I'm saying, is noble. So I wanted to be a knight. The first knight I made, I thought like dog shit, because it was like one of the first things I
Yeah.
made. So then I remade that, but I wanted him to be a feared knight in the sense that people respect the way he is. Like my presence can be aggressive, but my intentions are pure, kind of thing. So it's
Yeah.
like, that's like, I wanted to recreate that. It's like, that's what I did for me. Like I would hope you would approach me like, this is how I see me. And then that's how I would make the image.
So it's more of a.
It's a reflection of who you are,
It's
who
more
you
of a
think.
self-image.
Yeah, exactly. And
fuck.
like, and I think that's what's huge
I'm
nowadays.
still finding myself. Still finding myself. No, I like I said, I'm probably the best. I try to aspire to be open-minded. That's probably.
Maybe
That's probably
I
what I
could
go
draw
for.
you, and then I'll put you in like a rainbow T-shirt at the front of like a
Yeah.
rally or something like that.
Yeah. And when I say open-minded, I mean more of a situation of, I wouldn't say I necessarily support all walks of life and things like that. And what I mean by that is not that I'm like not okay with it. It's just that like I don't
Do
actively.
you think a better way to word it is
go
you
out-
believe in like true peace and serenity amongst humankind,
just-
essentially?
Yeah.
Everybody just exists.
Yeah.
And then like, of course there's bad people and there's good people,
Yeah.
and you just pay attention to the ones around you.
Yeah, and worry about what I can. Or worry about what
Mm.
I need to, or what I have control over.
See, I think if I were to
Um,
try to symbolize that, I think that I would want to make the first thing that comes to my head, I would think of you as like like a political figure. Like everybody so far has been relatively battle oriented.
Yeah.
But that's a very political thing you said right there. Not in like nowadays political is always like a negative connotation, but like what you said is like a very political like idea in the sense that we all coexist in harmony, even if you're good or bad.
I'm Bernie Sanders.
I mean, Blakely, out of all of us, I mean, Blakely's probably got the most, I guess, political knowledge out of all of us, so
yeah,
I guess that would
definitely
make sense.
When we were on the back porch, that's what we were talking about was politics.
Yeah.
We did it for half an hour.
I like talking about politics with people.
I love it.
If people like to talk about politics, that's what's even better.
Yeah.
Because I will even, I'm honest. So like if we have a conversation and you're passionate about something, and I typically, if I find, some sort of bullshit in it, and it's not necessarily that it's always bullshit, but it's like if I find something that just doesn't make sense, I can't not address it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's part of my disabilities and things like that. But it's just like,
it's not a disability. That's considered a disability because people don't want uncomfortable conversation. That's a good thing.
Yeah, but like in social situations, it's probably best
exactly because
I'm like, no, I'm not going to censor
You're the
myself.
solution to their problem. They just don't want to fucking admit they have a problem.
Yeah.
The people that can't have a conversation. Look, here's the thing: if you're actually political, but you don't want to talk about politics, it's because you're not that educated on politics.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's just a fact.
That typically
some people
happen.
don't like controversy, but most people don't like controversy because they can't thrive in controversy. And I'm not saying you should train yourself to be like that, but the reality is the reason you're okay with talking about politics is because you're educated and you're not inherently biased.
But but I'm always willing to change my mind too.
You should have a fluid opinion.
I'm always if I find that hole in a thought and you feel it because there just wasn't enough information given, we're good. We're good. I'm still following you. You're making sense. But if there's some sort of hole, like I don't want to get super political here.
No,
but,
we don't have to. We can just stay at the edge. Where we're at's fine right now. We don't have to.
I don't want to get super political, but I feel like I have to give some sort of scenario. So obviously abortion is a big issue.
Right. Well, it's a talking point. I don't know if it's a big issue, but it's a talking point.
Well, it can be an issue for certain communities, but it's a big talking point. And the biggest, I guess the biggest thing I've never been able to get behind, it's not that I'm not one that's like ban abortion. That's not my standpoint. But I do feel that in obviously this is a man's perspective, so anyone listening, feel what you feel, and I understand it, and you're allowed to feel that way. But with the situation of aborting the baby, the fetus, whatever you want to call it, I can't get around that. That's not murder.
I agree with that.
I can't find a way.
Oh, totally.
To do that, like, ethically.
But let me guess. Me and you are probably going to agree on this then. As a libertarian, you have to also then back that up by saying it shouldn't be the government's job to tell you what you do with your body.
Exactly.
Though. That's my exact
You were damn right. So, well, I'm a libertarian on a lot of situations, but I'm not a full-blown libertarian. There are some things that I lean right and some things that I lean left. I predominantly lean right. I'm not going to lie there and tell you that I typically see things in the middle. There are some situations that I am more conservative on. But in that situation, it's not that, again, I don't think, I think that's more of a, if you want to say that the government needs to have some sort of regulation over health care, then, which is more of a social construct, then I feel like we can't avoid, we need to let healthcare decide those situations in which if we're risking somebody's life to have this baby, then it does make sense to save that life or for that parent to make a decision.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's your decision. I agree with what you're saying 100%. I don't think that's controversial, that opinion, except to people that are usually like religious that think that You just have to ixnay it all together.
Yeah, it's more of the murder situation for me.
Oh, I do think it's murder still, 100%.
That's I can't get around that. I just can't.
The thing
and
that
nobody can tell me, give me anything.
Well, the thing nobody wants to talk about, I never see, is like, you're not going to murder a baby out of the womb, or I mean, like, you're not going to kill that, right? Because that's murder.
You mean like after it's already been born?
Yeah, after it's already. I mean, but if it's already formed in the stomach, it's basically the same thing,
the
right?
second that thing starts to form into, I mean, I'll be honest. The second that it starts to form
it depends
into,
on your definition of what a human is.
Well, I think the second it becomes a living organism, it's alive to me.
I think you have to say it's human when, to me, this is conception, meaning sperm hit egg. So if that happened and it succeeded, then you officially have created what is inevitably going to be a human.
Where it gets weird on both arguments, like the only argument for like people that are anti-abortion are on the argument of it's a life or whatever. Where it gets weird on the people that are pro-abortion, it gets complicated when you talk about, like, hypothetically, let's say you're a drunk driver and you hit a girl head on and she's pregnant, and it's, you know, like, let's say she's a month pregnant, kills the baby.
Is that double murder?
It's double murder, but you just said it's not a person.
Yeah.
Whenever she wanted to get the abortion.
And it's not that I ever want to give people gotchas.
Yeah.
But it's just like, if you can explain to me how that is not murder, if you can explain to me how it's not, then I can follow you.
Yeah.
Like I can follow this conversation. But that's the why I brought that up, because to me I have not found a reason for it to not be black or white.
Yeah.
Now, when we say there is gray area, I would obviously support something that's going to risk somebody's life, you know, having the baby, or and this is the problem I have with most Democrats is
go after him, call him out.
But there's a lot of things I agree with Democrats on, so I don't want to you know, say that I'm isolating you, but what I'm trying to say is that the main issue is when you're, you know, how do I word this without being an asshole?
Oh, here we go. It's going to get good now. It's juicy.
When you're, if we set limitations, so like, let's say if it's
term based, you
rape,
mean? Like, okay, you mean like that?
A rape situation. So if you go, okay, so it's okay if someone gets raped. The immediate argument is no, all abortion should be legal.
Oh no, I've heard this argument from Ben Shapiro. I know what you're talking about.
That I don't. Why? Like why? Okay, so why should we give it any exceptions if you're not going to accept any exceptions? If you're making it black or white, it's a yes or no.
Yeah.
So if you have to give me that, then of course I'm going to tell you that legally I would prefer you not to abort a child, because I feel that it's murder. So, and I don't know how you can argue that it's not. But if I'm trying to like give you a middle ground of going, okay, well, can we say it's at a heartbeat? Can we say it's in situations of rape? Can we say you use it in certain situations? There's no, just all of it should be legal. And it's just, that's every conversation I've had with someone on that. It's like, no, you're just a man.
I definitely
that's
feel
what it turns into.
I definitely feel no matter what, like if it, like with rape, I think abortion is totally okay. And
I think 99.9% of people, for the most part, agree with that. I think a lot of people that are more religious might try to argue that that's God.
I don't know how you can argue that, even if you're religious.
Some people just like, dude, they can find a way. They'll shoehorn religion in however they can.
A lot of the way that I hear it argued in those situations,
it's God's test of you. You don't know, it could be beautiful. Well, you never know what will come out of it.
Yeah, I hear that, but a lot of the way I hear that is, well, how do you fix a wrong with a wrong?
Yeah,
so you're fixing the rape with murder, like. But I get it. It does make sense.
It makes sense we say it. It just
but also too, I think that's an individual thing.
Yeah.
I think it takes the individual to decide if that's okay or not, because, you know, raising that baby, you don't know what's going to come of it.
It's also proof you got raped.
Yeah, and you already know that you're going to deal with the stress of being raped. You're already going to live with that. So I'm not saying that if I was a female, I may have a different outlook. I'm just saying. But also too, if I was a female, I have the feeling that I would not want to fix that with murder. Like that's the way I inevitably look at it, because I'm just like, you are killing a kid of something that could have existed. I really brought that more up as like in those situations, it's hard for me not to lean conservative.
Well, what's funny?
And there's situations in like social, like especially with social help. I do believe in police. I do believe in firefighters. That's a Democrat thing. That's
but that's the thing. That's what I was just about to say. Is that should not like what's so silly to me is we allow politicians to tell you what side to take, and to me, abortion should be a social, political thing. It shouldn't be take a side.
Yeah.
I think that there are a lot of things that don't need to be political that are political because political figures tell you that they're political.
Exactly.
And you really follow along with that. Like, I don't know how many
I don't want anybody to go
really
to
care.
jail.
Well, there's so many people that are so inherently biased to their like person that they support and their like party that it doesn't matter what they say. They'll pretty much just go along with it, whether it's right or left. It's like that. And it's funny.
Even if you voted for them, you should be able to acknowledge their faults and criticize them.
Well, it blows my fucking mind that that's political. Like the George Floyd thing happened, and then it was about taking sides. And it was like, so if you were Democrat...
Well, we were taking sides before, but now we're really taking sides.
Yeah, like
so
now it's like everybody's like, entrench in your camps, guys. We're about to go to war over something. And I think we all pretty much agree on, for the most part, that was a problem. At the end of the day, like, I think that people agree on these things. If hypothetically, let's say we moved to a country where there were no political parties. I know that sounds crazy.
I wish.
I'm just saying, but like, if we went there and we talked to them about abortion, they could probably have conversation and kind of agree on what we're talking about, the common sense parts of abortion, and then be just fine. And even if they don't agree on whether it's murder or not, they'll at least meet in the middle on the fact that
they may acknowledge it and still go, I still think there's a better way to handle this.
The problem
and
is,
that's fine. That makes more sense, but don't lie to me.
Well, the worst
don't
part
lie
is
to me.
People feel like they need to side with their party instead of trying to form a real opinion, or even having a fluid opinion that can be manipulated based off of fact. And it's like, that's what's scary to me, is how people... whatever topic you want it to be, I don't know how often they really believe what they're saying, but they're saying it because they want to sound like everybody else in their party. And it really scares me
consistent, I guess,
that people now scream from their end. It's kind of like me and you were in a gymnasium. You're on one side, I'm on the other side, and we're just yelling our points at each other and not having any communication. You're just yelling your thing, and I can't even hear you because I'm so busy yelling my thing. And that's what social media looks like with these political debates. And it's like, there's no common ground found. Everybody wants a gotcha moment where they can say like the one thing that's right about their side of an argument.
Yeah, I don't care about that. I like understanding.
Yeah,
I like understanding things. So if you're saying something that doesn't make sense and I ask a question and then you get upset over because I asked the question, that's not my fault. I feel like that's your fault if you now I have been in conversation with people and I've said something and it's not, there's no intended gotcha, but it's just like, that does make sense. Maybe I should look into that.
And you know what the argument is when you win? You're a straight white male.
Well, that too. It's becoming that.
I'm sorry, but like that's the base of like major debate now is that you can't understand struggle because your ancestors didn't deal with struggle.
Yeah.
And it becomes like you immediately shut all conversation off with that. And it's like, I find it very interesting how different we're starting to view these things because we're trying to be more open-minded as a society to the, the tragedies in our history, which, I mean, if you really think about it, it's built into every country ever. It's fucking stupid to pretend like America.
We all have our bad. We all have
almost
our good.
Every country literally ever in existence has had slavery. There are countries that still have slavery to this day. America didn't find slavery. We didn't bring black people here to be slaves because they were black. We brought them here because Africa had nothing to participate in the the triangular trade with. They had nothing but labor. There are still African slaves in Africa to this day. Those are just common facts. If I said that online, people would say it's because I'm a racist, denier and all this stuff. It's like, no, I'm a little educated on it, probably more educated than you on it. I also agree slavery's bad. I agree that black people still aren't 100% treated fairly to this day. We're working on it. We're getting better. I don't see why we're pretending like it's worse now than it was then.
Yeah.
We're making martyrs out of criminals on TV because of poor policing. I can agree that needs to be fixed. I mean, like, all that's common sense things. And I have talks with Democratic friends that agree with all that right there.
Yeah.
None of what I said right there should have been controversial. But there is still a group of people out there that will take everything I just said and say it's because you're a racist white male supporting white supremacists.
Your white privilege is showing, Dylan.
Yeah,
Well,
systemic racism.
It's a matter of okay, so in those situations too, with those type of people that they're end all beat all. You're a Nazi. You're a whatever.
Well, they're political figures now. They're not just Twitter people. They're political figures.
Oh yeah,
now.
they're political figures now. But they're name calling. Do you, just out of curiosity, do you feel like they're followers?
Oh, 100%.
Like what?
100%. They're all followers. They're all mostly weak-minded people that just watch a YouTube video. How many times have you ever? I don't know. I work with a lot of younger kids. So here's the thing. I find myself in political discussion relatively often with kids that find out that I have like a lot of political opinions.
Yeah.
And then I can always tell when they've watched a YouTube video and they come to me and source what they heard in that video or paraphrase it as best they can, and they have no knowledge outside of that one video.
Yeah.
And that goes to the attention span that we talked about. And I think that we've equated liberalism with niceness. So it makes more sense for all these kids who want to seem open-minded, and they are. I'm just saying we've equated racism to conservatism. So now it makes more sense if you want to be open-minded, like you said. I made fun of you when you said open-minded just to make the joke, but like modern open-mindedness is considered liberal.
Yeah.
It's not conservative, even though you lean right, I lean right. I don't have any race burn on my body. I treat everybody the same.
Yeah, and there's still plenty of things I disagree with when it comes to that I don't know. Maybe we should move from that subject just to move on to something different.
He had something good. He had something good.
Yeah,
you could tell.
I do this frequently where it's just like, shut up, Austin.
Let's talk about it off pod.
Okay.
Yeah, we can talk about that more off pod. But make me a politician, I guess. If maybe I'm a politician.
Well, I need to get away from battle-oriented characters. I think if I want to build a world, I need people, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, to me, if you were the leader of like a country, everybody's been in their own world.
Yeah, maybe I could be.
Yeah, I can make you an independent country, and you could be like the presidential.
I'm Switzerland.
Yeah,
I'm Switzerland.
Staying neutral.
I'm Switzerland. I generally I do that with with politics in general, where it's like if I don't understand a situation until I do, there's no way I can have an opinion on that. I can free thought with you all, like you can ask me questions and I can give you answers just off the dome of how I would feel.
Based off common knowledge.
Based off of just common, what I've been through and things. But I do try to stay. I try to see both perspectives as much as possible.
You can't make any progress if you don't.
Yeah, I try. And if I don't understand, even if there's something I feel like I oppose, like extremely, if I don't understand it, then it becomes a bias at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just how things work. It's like if I may actually agree with some things that a politician's doing, and like just for example, like Joe Biden releasing more.
He was trying to stop. Here he is.
Yeah, here I am. Just for example, but Joe Biden releasing a little more gasoline into the communities to try to help. Things down just from the Federal Reserve. That makes sense. I'm okay with that.
I think that's a smart decision.
That's a very smart decision. Now, Lindsey Graham ran his mouth and said that we should assassinate Putin. Now, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my entire life. And I've never, ever heard a politician of his level.
What's funny is you think they're not trying that right now?
No, but just saying that openly, like on a guy that's already paranoid as fuck.
That's a big pair of nuts right there. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Well,
kind of respect.
Well, and it's South Carolina for you. But Lindsey Graham, there's a lot of things I've agreed with him on at times. But I'll tell you two things that told me that motherfucker ain't real. You know, and sorry, Lindsay, if you're listening, you need to work on yourself.
Eat shit, bitch.
You need to work
Tell
on
him,
yourself.
Yeah, suck a dick, Lindsay.
Well, no, just how problematic he was with Donald Trump, you know, attempting to become president, and then he did it, and then he started like sucking up to him, and that kind of pissed me off. And then as soon as they, you know, as soon as Trump was impeached, he was completely on the opposite aisle.
It's like Joe Biden was racist and Kamala Harris was vice president, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
But you know, with that being said, like being two-faced, and then not only that, like you are so dumb that you threaten the leader of what inevitably is maybe number 2 militarily, if not China, because we don't know that information. But on a scale, Russia is still a substantial country that has, you know, are you that fucking stupid during a war that they already feel like America's against?
He's probably hoping that he ends up double booked at one of Nick's shows, and then Nick's going to challenge him to combat.
I'm gonna come whoop his ass.
Tear him up.
Well, I'm just saying, like, okay, that's about as like Southern Republican religious as you get.
What's funny is people are definitely doing that. You don't think we have people inside their fucking like their country right now trying to fucking kill that bitch?
They could be.
They're definitely trying that shit.
I'm just saying that, you know, as a political figure, is it ethical?
Man, it
to
sounds
say
good
something
though. It
like
sounds
that.
good.
But why? How did you not get South Carolina nuked? I'm just trying to say, like that's all he had to do is just go. Oh, they're wanting to.
Oh, dude, he don't want that shit.
Boom.
Putin don't want that shit, dude. Yeah. He's losing to Ukraine right now. He doesn't want America. Like, you know what Putin is right now? Putin, let me tell you, Russia.
I'm just saying, he's paranoid as fuck, you know, and we saw what Adolf Hitler could do just being paranoid.
Right now, Putin is that, like, buff guy that thought he, like, could kick a lot of ass because he was buff. And then he fought somebody who was smaller than him who he thought he was going to beat the shit out of. And it's like, right now, he's kind of losing.
He's just got too much to protect, man.
He
wasn't... equipment-wise, he wasn't prepared.
No, well, he had bad information, too. Apparently, they thought that Ukraine was pretty much going to roll over and let him have the country.
Yeah.
And
nah, bro.
Nah. Kind of respect.
Well, and I do think at the end of this war, you know, they will get a bit of Ukraine. I do full-blown believe that. But I do think there will be some sort of reparation. You know, Ukraine's going to get something out of this, too, you know. But anyways, to kind of move on away from politics.
Sure you don't want to talk about it again?
Nick had this topic from last podcast that we didn't get to about video games. We still have a little bit of time, and I think we'll kind of maybe end with that and then roll into a legit or shit.
Okay.
Unless there's anything else. I mean, if y'all want to go longer, I could probably find a way.
I just got to
We could always split it into 2 episodes if we need to.
If
I can pee, that's all I got to do, bro.
Do you know where the bathroom is?
I'll find it.
we'll take a...
There's only a few rooms in the house.
We'll take a pee break.
I'll pee in the beginning of most rooms until I find the right one.
I was telling him, like, you know, at some point we may want to consider doing weekly because, I mean, we're already booking out till, like, July, you know, with guests and shit.
July.
Get over July. Yeah, we getting guests.
Julie.
But yeah, I think we'll do that. I'll go ahead and mention this while we're at it. But
are we back on right now?
Yeah, we're live. As you all know, unfortunately, we lost a great comedy actor, Gilbert Gottfried, and writer, voiceover work guy. Like Gilbert was.
Pull your tooth out.
God,
I don't know if I can do it good.
That wasn't
Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh, it's a little bit better.
Gilbert. He was also the Aflac Duck. Aflac.
Is that true? Holy
yep,
shit!
He was the Aflac Duck.
I definitely hear it.
I'm trying to think of all the. Well, his big break was on SNL, but he was like on at a time. I think he might have been in the first Google.
He was in the first Google.
He might have been in the first run of that in the 70s, maybe.
And it good? They were solid. And just like
I can't remember.
Bottle, bro.
I got you.
Gilbert. Godfrey.
This is gonna be tough.
SNL. I think he was only on for one season.
No, don't make them touch. Make them touch. No,
there's a cup here.
He's already came as far.
Yeah.
Believe in yourself. Confidence is the key.
Confidence is the key.
Yeah, you're good, dude.
Wow, I'm actually pretty proud of
He was born in 55. He was an SNL member for a year. Yeah, so from 80 to 81. And I think at those times SNL was struggling.
They're struggling now.
Yeah, they're struggling a lot more now than they were earlier. they're every now and then they hit on something funny. Now.
Let's talk about politics again.
Every now.
Oh.
Well, that's SNL. SNL's forcing that. But I mean, really, like SNL was like a skit-based thing, and now it's kind of turned into politics. Maybe that's what Gilbert was trying to get away from. I don't know, but obviously,
how did he die?
I do not know how he passed.
Man, we're
I
Googling
just,
the fuck out of some stuff.
yeah, we're just Google.
You said we don't use Google one time, but the branch episode. Look at us, we're going at it.
He
No, we did.
let's see,
We
he
did
was
have to use
67.
it once.
He had a
what
long
I'm saying.
illness, recurrent ventricular tachycardia. So he was having trouble breathing, probably, due to myotonic dystrophy.
Good thing I'm
Type
fluent
2.
in medical terms.
Yeah, I'm not. I have a learning disability. See me sounding out everything.
You're doing great.
But either way, so Gilbert, I'm gonna miss him just because, like, again, I was mentioning to you when I told you about this. It was just Aladdin. That movie was a movie that was watched many a time in my household, just because I had select Disney movies that I did watch, and Aladdin was one of them. And it was for two reasons. It was for Gilbert Gottfried as Iago, and then Robin Williams for the genie. And but to think that a comedian could enter a role like that and it be an off-put role, like kind of like Gilbert Gottfried, especially, like he's the henchman basically of the evil guy, Jafar. So, and Genie, in reality, other than being all powerful, he's just a genie that was found by the main character. So, and to me, they both made the movie. Like, and Gilbert Gottfried's voice is just, and it's not, I don't think it's his real voice, honestly. I think he just talks like that on purpose. Like, it got to the point where it was just like, everywhere I go, this is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
But even I loved his humor. We've talked about Bob Saget in the past, and his humor was very similar to Bob Saget. There's literally, you could probably go find it on Netflix, but there is a whole stand-up special. It's one of his last stand-up specials that he literally did, like, just your basic jokes. Like, he wasn't clean and crisp. He was just like, what do you call a blah 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 and a blah blah blah? It's a penis, and then that was the joke. So but Bob Saget did stuff like that too, and that humor just made me, it's so dumb that I love it.
I'm gonna tell that joke to Rebecca later and see if she laughs.
A blah blah blah, a blah blah blah. It's a penis. It's a penis.
If she doesn't get it, then it's on her. You know what I'm saying? That's common sense.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some Gilbert Gottfried jokes, but he had it's like 2 hours of him just saying, like, but a lot of the times it was really raunchy and gross, but it's being told to you in Gilbert Gottfried's voice, which is even funnier. Like, I think that's what did it for me. It's just like he just had this thing about him where he was always
Delivery
making
makes
people
the
laugh.
joke.
Yeah, it was delivery. It didn't matter what he was saying. It was just how he did it, and his mannerisms, the way he looked, the way that it was a character that he, like, created his whole career off of, basically. And it essentially was him. I mean, it was still his voice, but he was just exaggerating himself, and it was just hilarious. And maybe sketch comedy wasn't for him. Maybe he was more of a writer. But again, like I said, his writing was more simple. So maybe that's why it didn't work on SNL, or, well, I don't know. But either way, he passed away, and it's sad. We keep losing people, especially people from childhoods.
Who's next?
I don't like to hear that. As Bill Goldberg would say, who's next?
Who's next?
But anyways, we wanted to get kind of into that subject that Nick wanted to bring up on the last podcast, and we just had too much fun with hearing Lucas talk about his endeavors.
Yes.
And it has to do with video games, which I don't think we've really tapped upon, even though I'm a nerd somehow.
It's ironic that I want to bring it up because you two probably play video games way more than I do. But so I had this thing like where when I was a kid, I played video games probably as much as any other kid would play. Maybe not. I mean, there's probably kids that were like very, very hardcore into it, but I played a lot of. I mean, I had a Dreamcast when I was a kid, and like nobody
awesome.
else.
I always wanted.
Nobody else had.
my
nobody else had a Dreamcast.
I remember my sister's boyfriend at the time when the Dreamcast came out. He had one.
You ever heard of Gamecast?
And I played.
Yes.
I played Sonic.
I think so.
And I played Sonic, and I played Pac-Man World. If you never played Pac-Man World, it's like a platform jumper. Pac-Man World, awesome game. Go play it.
Yeah. Well. So, but I had the PlayStation, I had a Dreamcast, I had.
What'd you have on Dreamcast?
Well, Sonic mainly, Sonic Adventure.
Yeah, I think we all
Reloaded.
Soul Calibur.
Reloaded.
Soul Calibur was a game I played on Dreamcast all the time.
Interesting. See, I was a Tekken fan, so Soul Calibur's pretty close.
Yeah, similar thing, but and I had like the Game Boy Advance, I had PlayStation 2.
Just keep going.
And so, but. My favorite game of all time.
Probably where he stopped, actually.
He has a PS3.
He has a PS3
now. I have a PS3 now. I have not upgraded. I had a Wii, too, and I still currently have a Wii. But my favorite game of all time
he has a Wii, everybody.
is the original Tomb Raider. Is my favorite video game of all time. And I gradually, would play newer games and stuff. But as I'd say, point around 2012, like I kind of just stopped playing besides the occasional, I don't know, game of Madden, or sometimes I would play the original Tomb Raiders, or sometimes I would play Call of Duty, like Black Ops or something like that.
I just want to point out, before you go too far away from Tomb Raider, this guy is actually incredible at the game, like the original Tomb Raider.
Until you see other people play it.
And I tested this theory because we played it. I have a gaming channel that I want to start back up.
Smashfish.
But it's called Smashfish Gaming on YouTube. And Nick and Needham both joined me for a game of Tomb Raider. I'd never played the game. And there's literally 3 episodes. So there's one episode of Nick completing a level, and it's just he's doing it flawlessly. No issues, no nothing. And then episode 2 starts, and then Needham, it takes him, I can't remember, I think it was 5 minutes to pick up a med pack.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning of the episode. And then the next episode is literally me for 15 to 30 minutes trying to get out of a pool.
Yeah.
Like, I kept falling back in this pool, and I was just recycling the same thing.
And I remember
that original game was actually pretty hard to control.
So here's where this is kind of where I'm going with this, because you guys were making comments like, I don't like these controls, like the controls of modern games
hard to control
are better, or stuff like that. Like, and I don't, for whatever reason, I got out of playing video games. I just I would pick one up for like 10 minutes and get immediately bored. But I've gotten into this.
This is just terrible.
I've gotten into
Good
this.
thing we're talking about video games.
I've gotten into this thing where I still love to go back and play the old games, like vintage, like Tomb Raider or Crash Bandicoot, or maybe an old game of Mario or something like that, or fucking Spyro. I can't seem to enjoy any modern video game more than those.
You don't even like the remakes of those games.
Like remasters?
It depends. I don't know if I've ever really like the Crash Bandicoot ones. I don't know if I've played them. I don't think I have.
Did they officially do the reboot?
They're fun.
Yeah, they remastered them.
Okay, I know that they were
gorgeous.
Well, I thought they were gonna do like a reboot and like redo the games.
They did.
Okay.
They added something. Well, so they remade Crash 1, Crash 2.
So they remade it, or did they remaster it?
Or remaster it.
Okay,
so it's
different.
basically the same game.
The same game, but like
just
with
newer
updated
technology.
graphics. Yeah.
And they did the same thing for Spyro.
Yeah.
Which the games are slightly different. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it's the overall same concept.
Okay.
You know.
So, but
and CTR.
That always
was good
for me. I feel like modern video games there's something about them that don't have the same charm, or they're like maybe they're too realistic.
Oh, I'll
or
be honest
something
with you.
like
If
that.
you're used to PS1 games, I mean, these games are complicated now compared to a PS1 game. As much
Whoa,
as it goes into it.
wait, hang on. I don't know about that, because I feel like in a lot of these modern games, they hold your hand way more than
You ever play Dark Souls?
Yeah,
No.
Dark Souls is
You ever
ridiculous.
played Dark Souls?
Maybe I'm speaking from more of a Tomb Raider standpoint, because I've seen a lot of these modern Tomb Raider games and they seem way easier than.
Oh, that might be.
When I
then-
think that's kind of what you're trying to get at, right? Like, are you asking like the change of games? Is it better, worse, or is
yeah,
it
like
harder,
well, or I just
easier?
think So I'm saying like I think that video games from the like PS1 era. Now I'm not going to include like Atari and stuff like that, because Atari was more of an innovative sort of thing. You know,
Yeah,
video
it was
games
an at-home
weren't a
arcade.
thing
That was
before
the
then.
idea. The idea was to have your arcade game at home,
So there's-
like a button and a joystick.
Now I still enjoy a game of Pac-Man or Galaga or something like that, but
Love
you know,
Galaga.
but those are more
Galaga.
like innovative. Like this has never been seen. Like Pong. I mean, how much more boring or simple could you get with Pong? But that's like one of the most successful video games of all time. But or Tetris.
Yeah,
like,
Tetris.
you know,
Tetris had tournaments and shit.
But as far
Probably
as like
still
the
does.
as far as like the I guess you could get to, like Super Nintendo through the PS1 PS2 era. Like to me, that's like the best era, and I don't think.
So you're saying everything after PS2 should be considered modern, and everything before PS2 should be
I
considered
think
more vintage.
yeah, but I also think that modern games just don't. There's something that's missing in modern video games. There's not.
If I'm being honest with you, I think it's just something missing in your interest. Like, I mean, like to me, modern gaming. I mean, I've been saying gaming is relatively dead until Elden Ring came out and kind of shook the gaming world. I mean, I'm speaking from console perspective. Of course, if you have a computer, there's a lot of games that
Yeah,
you
get to
miss
do
out
a
on.
lot of stuff on computer.
But like I've been saying that gaming is relatively dead until Elden Ring came out, because since Grand Theft Auto 5, that's pretty much the last release of a pretty universally loved game for the most part. I mean, you have your yearly Call of Duties,
And Call of Duty,
all those games. I mean, like
Maddens.
they're all basically the same
I
game.
was about to say those are all the same, and it's the same
Essentially.
thing with Madden too. Like I don't think there's been a good Madden in years.
Oh yeah, Madden's trash. They just don't have competition. They have no
It's
reason to be
rough.
good.
Yeah.
It's
They have no
rough.
reason to be good. But like, I mean, like if you've played Skyrim, I mean that game alone right there would change your entire perspective. I mean that's
But see, Nick doesn't like those kind of
Yeah.
games. He doesn't like. Okay, so something like Skyrim would be full immersion.
Well,
Full immersion.
I think I like the concept of like Final Fantasy. And that's
you like the concept,
sort of
or
similar.
would you play?
And I've played it a few times.
Nick's gonna play Final Fantasy with me on the Smashfish Smashfish Gaming channel upcoming. It's gonna happen.
so
We're
you
gonna
don't
play
like
one
the
of them.
idea of an open world game.
Well, when
Well,
you say
if
open
he
world,
likes that, he probably would. If he likes Final Fantasy, then he'd probably like.
Yeah, I've never- I don't think I've
Skyrim
ever-
more.
I've never played Skyrim,
yeah.
but here's my thing. Like, and I know what you'll say after this, but like all of the modern video games that I have played, they lose my interest so quickly.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, I get bored within minutes. So I don't know what it is.
You just don't like gaming.
That's probably
'Cause
it. But
I'm not
I love
Yeah,
older
But
games.
you
though.
might love the way it makes you feel because it's nostalgic, not because they're great games.
Okay, so
I don't know. Tomb
I'll
Raider's
tell you
pretty
how
great.
I feel about this. If in especially PS2 and earlier, everything was still being innovated, meaning from game to game controls.
Maybe
could
that's what it
change.
is. Maybe there's
From
not as
game to
much
game,
innovation anymore.
ideas can change. In a newer age game, we've gotten so spoilt with an open world concept. We've gotten so spoilt with manufacturers of video games being the same developers being the same developers that are developing other style games, and your controls are very similar. Maybe you're not as attached to the character itself. I will tell you this, Nick. If you're wanting like character attachment, like if you're attached to Lara Croft because of there's the backstory, right? I'm not a Tomb Raider fan, so I don't know any of that stuff. But I know that in a situation like Dylan presented as Skyrim, you're kind of yourself.
Yeah, you create the story that you want.
So with something like an RPG like that, you're kind of it's going to be as much as you put into it, really. With Final Fantasy, it is more of a story.
Yeah,
it becomes more of a story.
There's a name for that where it's just you play along like one path. I forget what it's called, but that's
and even Final Fantasies have evolved to where they're not
it
that
tank controls? Is that that's
No,
what
no.
like, or is that something completely
no.
different?
Tank controls is like a type of like player character style. I mean, what I'm saying is like, well, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Gamer lingo kind of changes.
I was watching
a
a thing the other night. Another thing, this is random, but I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the YouTube channel. I just discovered it like last week, but apparently he's been around since like 2004. But his YouTube channel's Cinemassacre, but
I've heard of
his name is the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Oh,
That's what he goes by on YouTube.
I know who
Dude
that
is fucking hilarious. Like he just
found the Angry Video. Have you watched the Angry Video Game?
Never even heard of it.
He's pretty popular.
he gets.
I'm
like
not a
millions
I
huge
don't
of views.
watch video games on YouTube that much.
I'm not a huge fan, but
he talks about really
he is
shitty
good.
games and
He is
he's funny. Yeah, he's really
at what
funny
he
with it.
does.
But that's actually a thing with me is that I actually almost enjoy watching people play like Tomb Raider levels on like YouTube more than I actually like playing it myself. You know,
Yeah,
it's really because with Tomb Raider specifically, they still have a Tomb Raider level editor online where you can make your own levels out of the original engine, the game engine, and people get really fucking creative with that.
it almost turns into Mario Maker.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're a little hard just thinking about this.
I am. It's chubbing right now.
I feel like it depends on what you're going for. It depends on what you're going for because, as you know, especially with me, it's been a while since I've done what I would consider modern gaming. Because I was a Call of Duty fan when Black Ops came out.
I was too, actually. I really liked
I
Black Ops.
Played the hell out of Black Ops, and then right after that, I fell right off the train. Like I basically joined for Black Ops, and then I left promptly after.
I was actually the
not
exact
Black Ops
same
2,
way.
not
Yeah.
Black like I just right after that was that I love that game. But I as much as I want to play through them, I haven't done it. But I love the original Gears of War game. I want to play through them all. I still have that on my bucket list. I just haven't gotten there yet. But when we say like modern gaming, kind of like probably something like Skyrim would be the closest.
I wouldn't even consider that modern anymore. That's almost 10 years ago.
Exactly. It's getting to that point. That's kind of why I was saying to kind of establish a time frame is that brand new video games, even I'm not playing, man. Overwatch. I played a lot of Overwatch for a little bit. And I guess that's still a game that's being updated to this day, which I guess Skyrim sort of is too. It continues to get resold and stuff. I would play Elden Ring if I went out and got it, but I know I'd have no life, so I haven't. Because that's what I do, and I go through spurts too. Like I've been playing like the Dragon Age games. I love those. But when it comes to old games like Spyro, for me it's hard to beat Spyro. It's hard to beat the stuff that I grew up on or cut my teeth on. There's even some games out there that are not real big that I loved.
Yeah.
Like Sly Cooper, it got big for a little bit and then like 2 came out and then it went right in the hole.
There's this game that my mom always reminds me of, like as if I don't remember playing it. She's always like, "Did you ever play? You remember playing Blasto?" And I was like, "Yeah, Mom, I played it all the time." But
What's
nobody,
Blasto?
nobody knows. That's exactly nobody knows.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
It's a PlayStation.
I must look up
It's an old
Blasto.
PlayStation 1 game, but it's like a dude with like yellow wavy hair, and you're like fighting Martians in space. It wasn't well received at all.
Oh, okay. It was a PlayStation 1 game.
Yeah, and it was like really hard, but I remember playing it all the time, and that's like a game that's etched in my memory. But
and there's a lot of games like that too that I don't think would ever happen nowadays.
Yeah.
Well,
and I just think so. I mean, maybe for me, it's the lack of
Why are you grabbing your breast while you're saying
innovation.
it's the lack of.
It's
We're all
my
grabbing our
lack
breasts.
of-
It's the lack of lactation coming out of
Yes.
these tits.
Well, and I think what you're missing there, Nick, and I'm gonna kind of explain this too, is that you're looking in the wrong frame of games. If that's what you think modern gaming's lacking, and I'm just gonna give this as an example, but there's many. Actually, here's a better one. Okay, I was going to give the original example, but it's older now, so I can't say, that it's modern. But there's a game that captured us at the end of last year called I've lost Inscription. Inscription. Have y'all heard of Inscription?
Never.
Go play this game. Go play this. It's a roguelike game, but it's a computer game, and it's from a small developer, and it just took off, and everybody who's played it loved it. So it's kind of creepy, but do you know what a roguelike game is, Nick?
Describe it to me.
So a roguelike game is kind of a game that's meant to be lost. Like, you can't progress in the story without losing. So it's like it actually starts off as a card-based game. So kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or something like that.
Oh.
And you continue on through, and the game just keeps getting wilder and wilder and wilder and wilder as you're playing it. So you get to a certain point, and so, like, let's say stage 1 is it's just teaching you how to play the game, and it's giving you a deck of cards. And then the next part, or the next stage, you could think of it as like a little map. So you go from one level to the next level. So then when you go to the next level, it made things, real. Now you're playing the real game. And then the next one, it's just a little bit harder. And then it gives you a split off, so you can choose on where you're going to go. And some tiles may give you more cards, some tiles may do other things, but the whole time there's this creepy entity, and you're like stuck in a cabin, and it's creepy as fuck. And there's this like weird dude that's like, all you can see is his eyes, and he's in the darkness, and his name's Leshy. And there's some weirdness to it, but then you get so far, and he stacked the deck against you. You can't win. So then you lose, and then you go through the experience of the game, and then when you come back, you know more.
Yeah.
So now you can plan. Okay, so then you get past that part, and then you get to a boss, and you've prepared your deck, and then you lose. And then you start over again.
So it's just kind of like that.
And you
like
keep
the
doing
whole,
it. Well, here's the thing is the game started out with 3 options. So you've got options, continue, and new game, and you can't start a new game on it when you start playing the game. So it's creepy in the way they've designed it. So you have to continue, and then you start out for where whoever the last person to play the game, created. Well, then that gets wilder and wilder and wilder and wilder. So, but it's roguelike. So this game captured something that I have not seen in a video game in a long, long time. And I kid you not, the game evolves as you're playing it, meaning that it goes from creepy to kind of Game Boyish bit like, and then you're playing like that, and then there's like, stories in it, but those developers created something new. They created a roguelike game that had never been done before.
Well, and I think that's kind of what I'm
and you get attached to the characters.
Is, I'm the type of person, I like shittier graphics. Like, I mean, I don't.
Well, you just don't care about the graphics.
Yeah,
you don't care how shitty they are if it's a good game.
Yeah, and I think I kind of equate it to movies almost in a sense too. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of innovation in the Hollywood world, anymore. And I hate it when people want to say something like, well, movies made back in the day were real shitty and the acting was shitty and stuff like that. But shit was innovative. Like, and I think way more
that's not always the case.
It was new then. It wasn't. It was innovative because nothing had been done yet.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just an idea.
Well, there was a lot of that though in movies.
I would actually agree with most of what the take is. Most movies do have relatively poor acting from back in the day, but I think there are a lot of movies that do hold up now. I would say it's only innovation though, because there was not that many movies that were competing against it.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's hard to be innovative because most ideas are pretty much gone. I mean, think about it. They've made now 3 Spider-Men in our lifetime.
Yeah.
There's probably going to be another Spider-Man in like 10 or 20 years.
You're talking about like the actor.
Yeah.
Just to kind of throw this out here, Dylan, you do more modern gaming, right?
I mean, I guess, yeah.
Okay, so give me 5 of the top games right now.
Bro, see, I mean, I'll give you from my experience because I'm not
just from your
plugged in.
experience.
Yeah, like
because you have more experience than we do.
Most of the gaming that I do, honestly, is I think they call it bro gaming, where like I play like Warzone and like
Warzone.
I'll play a little Fortnite with David every now and then. Like then UFC 4, NBA 2K. So it's a lot of the basic games, but like
Give me something different other than a sport.
I was about to say, I have one game that's not in that category. It's actually a great game. It's called Ghost of Tsushima. And
I
it's
think
like
I've watched you play this before.
Yeah, it's like it's based on you being a samurai.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that game is like to me like what I want in a game, like open world. Make me a beautiful landscape. Make me a million side quests. If I want to never play the storyline, the main storyline you built, I want to stay busy still. I want to randomly come into enemies and things to fight in your world. I want you to like give me all of the most creative thing you can throw side quest wise.
You like it to be pretty wild.
Yeah, I don't want it to be just the story. Like open world games to me have spoiled me, like you said. Like Skyrim, I laugh when people tell me they beat Skyrim because you've never beaten Skyrim.
You do so much in those games.
You just constantly keep playing more.
Can you give me one more, or maybe we can just include Skyrim? I mean,
yeah. Well, that's my favorite game of all time.
It holds up to this day. I preferred Oblivion, me personally. But I do love Skyrim. I've never beat Skyrim. I've gotten close, and then like I just kind of fell off.
You don't beat Skyrim. It's just too much.
Well, like for the main, let's call it the main story. I haven't finished it, and it's been 10 years, and I've tried to play it like 6 times. But okay, so now think of developers. You gave me 2 that were EA. Alone.
Yeah.
And not to mention all the other sports games you might play.
Well, wait, 2K is not EA. Or didn't you say 2K?
Yeah.
Oh, you said 2K. I thought you said.
But EA makes UFC 4.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and then Epic, who has been creating they created an engine that people are using still to this day. That was like Quake, the new Dooms are all Epic, all that stuff. That's Fortnite. And then what's your
Activision
game?
and Blizzard for Call of Duty.
Activision and Blizzard, but that's still EA, ain't it?
No.
Are they owned by EA?
No, they're separate.
Okay. I'm a liar.
No, Activision.
I'm a liar. Activision.
It's its own company. But
I thought they were bought.
They
man.
make they were bought by Xbox.
That Microsoft bought them. Okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So
EA Sports makes Apex. Yeah.
So but that game that you threw out there, who's the developer?
I can't even tell. I don't remember.
Yeah. Is it a newer game?
Relatively, yeah. It's within the last 3 or 4 years.
But it's not something we're going to call out. But that one's a game that's caught your interest. That's the game you're looking for, Nick. So all these big developers, Bethesda, which is bought by Microsoft, and then you've got Activision, who's been making every Call of Duty. I just thought Activision got bought by Microsoft.
Yeah, they did.
Activision I thought they got bought by EA. Sorry, that's where I got confused. But EA is obviously one of the biggest game developers, and Bethesda. You could just call those are like top 4, and we could keep going. Like Blizzard. Blizzard's one of those that could just produce a game and it not be original, and it and it sell millions of copies. They got bought by Microsoft too, which I think they had to, because they were the ones that had the Cosby Room and all that stuff. I don't know if you heard about that, Nick.
No.
They had a room at their headquarters that they called the Cosby Room. So I'm not going to elaborate on what they were doing in that room, but it was called the Cosby Room. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is, if you see these games coming out from the same developers, early on, like, what was it, Mad Dog that created Crash?
Naughty Dog.
Naughty Dog.
Yeah.
Naughty Dog. That was new for them, and I think they later got bought out. But that was a new thing. That was a newer company. That was a new idea. That was a platform.
Well, it wasn't a new idea. It was Mario for PlayStation.
No, but it was a platform that hadn't been done before. Like, so what I'm trying to say is, like, if you compare Crash Bandicoot to, like, let's say, Mario was 2D at that time. No matter what, like until we got to 64.
Still 64.
Yeah, until we got to 64. And still, like, there's people that absolutely love the 64 Marios, but a lot of the community did not enjoy it. a lot of the community were just like, these controls are trash, but that was mostly because the Nintendo controller was trash. But either way, what I'm trying to say is a developer can really make a difference. And that game that pulled us in, I mean, it has Steph playing the game. Cody got interested in the game. We pretty much any person that we watched play video games then inevitably ended up having to cover this game because it was so good. And they're making a new game that I want to check out, but small developer, they turn into big thing. I was going to mention Five Nights at Freddy. Five Nights at Freddy started out as an independent thing. That was a last chance for a 43-year-old man to get into the game and developing world. And then that franchise has just gone way farther. And the idea is the same. Well, I mean, it does different things and it keeps you on edge, but at the same time, it's the same game over and over and over and over and over and over. And it's, I think that's what you're not liking. You know, you'd probably be fine with, you know, having multiple Tomb Raiders, but you'd eventually get tired of Tomb Raider, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't love like the concept I see for the really new Tomb Raider games, the ones that have come out in the last few years. It doesn't look appealing to me at all because it looks like a totally
they've opened the world.
Well, yeah, it looks like a totally different game almost. You know, yeah. I mean, there's still Lara Croft, but I don't know. There's something.
To me, it looked more like Uncharted.
Like Uncharted,
like
yeah.
that.
They were trying to copy Uncharted, but
that kind of makes sense because Uncharted's a huge series.
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, they even
it's
got
not
a movie
for
now.
people that want Tomb Raider, but I mean, essentially, that's the thing is gaming is constantly stealing from other games. That's essentially how games stay relevant, is that they steal ideas from other games. Well, it's not even so much stealing because that's how life works.
Sometimes it's good, though.
No, it is
it's
good
good
that they do
steal,
that. Like, I mean, that's how you make your game. You take the best parts of other things and make your product better, right?
Well, it's like you mentioned earlier. That's kind of the problem with EA and Madden. It's like they
no one to steal from.
They stopped making 2K in the NFL after 2K5, and people still say to this day that NFL 2K5 was the greatest simulation football game of all time. And I had it, and it was amazing. It was great.
Yeah, I never played any of the 2Ks.
2K5 for NFL was great, but Madden 2005 has always been my favorite. But now, like, think about it. When we had Madden 05 and 06, we could like create our own teams and our own players, and we didn't have to pay for anything. You bought the game and that was it. Like now you gotta
argue.
You have to buy your upgrades and all this shit. You know,
you can earn it. You can get it faster if you buy it.
Oh well, yeah. But still,
not everything. Not everything. The DLC content in games can really wreck a game really quick. Well, and I think with a game like with Fortnite, especially where it's just like, here's a free game, we're gonna make money on all the bullshit you're gonna buy in the game. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But in a lot of games, like especially you saw a lot of backlash on Battlefront when I think it was the second one that came out, Battlefront 2, which it's built on the platform of Battlefield. So it's like big area, gunfight. But some of the content that they release is like, okay, so you're telling me I can't be Darth Maul unless I pay you $20 fucking. Like, there's no other way to do it. Well, okay, there's a way to do it, but it's probably going to take you about 12 years.
Yeah. So you might as well just spend the $20.
You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And not to mention that most people, it's already spent like $80 to, get the coolest package for that game or whatever, whatever it was. I'm just saying, like how much money do we need to spend on one fucking video game? How many people did it take to develop it? You literally took Battlefield and put a Star Wars skin on it. And I'm not saying that like it's not good. Well, I guess here's a good argument is I would feel that the original Battlefronts for PlayStation 2, and I think they made it onto Xbox 360 and stuff like that. Battlefront 1 and 2 were definitely like innovative for their time.
That's what people also prefer.
So they were such good games. And then you got the new games, and it's not that they're bad, it's just Battlefield.
Yeah.
So if you don't like Battlefield, then you're not going to like the game. Well, I was never really one to enjoy Battlefield, me personally. So I didn't enjoy that game like I did the originals. And it's partly because it's so big, and I don't know where I'm at, and now my actual shots like have to be so precise and things like that, where it's like before, like if you were bad at the game, you grabbed a character that could lock onto people, like it made you a lot better, but you could still hide, evade, do your normal thing. It's so I think there's an argument to say that like new gaming is, I wouldn't necessarily call it superior, but I wouldn't call it all bad either. I think there's a lot of good things out there still that I think people can find,
You have to look for it.
Yeah, you really have to look for it if that's what you're interested in. Some people don't care. They just want the newest Call of Duty, or the new Fortnite season or whatever it is, and that's fine too.
Well, Battle Royales are dominating gaming right now.
Yeah, Battle Royale has become a big thing, which that kind of came from Epic anyways. That was always an Epic. I remember playing Quake. Did you ever play Quake?
Yeah.
So that was like my first Battle Royale game.
Well, that's still technically an arena, though, right? Essentially.
Sorta. Yeah, it's an arena. But, I mean, it's the same idea.
I think
a lot of people load up in an area.
The first BRs were like H1Z1 and Armada 3 or something like that. There's one of those.
I'll tell you the original Battle Royale game. I don't think y'all are either fans of the Game Grumps, but Aaron from the Game Grumps is a collector of old school cartridge games, and he bought a box of cartridges. Some of them could be addressed, like you could figure out what the games were. Some of them were blank. Some of them like blank cartridges with no game on them. Some of them were just kind of like they didn't have any labeling, but they only partly worked and things like that. There was one game, and you could basically think of this as like Super Nintendo quality. There was one game that loaded up, and it had some very interesting things in it, but it was very bitty. It was very fucked up. And it got him curious. He figured out it was in Russian. So it would have came out around Soviet era. And he found in that game, you can't play it, you can't load it up or anything, but he found where it said online. And he was like, whoa, like, was someone trying to make an online game for this game? Like, is this did I get my hands on the first online game,
in 78? That would be like 1990 something, though.
Yeah.
When that was made.
Yeah. So anyway, well, I have no idea. Well, it had a bunch of Soviet content in it, so it would have been. I'm not saying it's a Super Nintendo game, but that's kind of the quality. I can't remember what they call that
see how it
game
would
console.
actually get online, though.
This is what's insane. Is evidently that console did have dongles that could use basic dial-up, but the console died well before. Whoever was developing this did not realize that there was someone in Russia. It was people in Russia that were developing this, and they were working on it past the console's expiration. Like, it was done. And they were still working on it. So he found somebody, he made a friend that could pull the content off, and he had the idea to really get into the game to see what it was. So because I can't play it without online, but if I can somehow get it online, then I can see what the game looks like. I can see what the game is. And it turned out to be a battle royale. So it's a 2D battle royale, and you've got little men that can get power-ups, and you all hop into tubes. It's like 30 different people, and you all hop into tubes, and then you get landed in a 2D area, but it's got like Stalin statues and shit. It's weird. But anyways, it's kind of a Mario-like game, and you use the power-ups to kill other players, or you jump on their heads. And So then Aaron was just like, well, let me make sure this is not copyrighted in any way, and it wasn't. They could not find anything. And then he had that guy finish the game. And then they developed it and put it on Steam. You can go and play it to this day. I play it periodically. It's called Soviet Jump Game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny. It's pretty funny. And, of course, they've gotten to the point to where they've put themselves in the game and stuff like that. And you can do the Fortnite stuff where you buy all the, add-ons or whatever. But it's a 2D battle royale because you just hop in a tube and you get dropped off somewhere. You don't know where it is, but it's pretty interesting to be what it is.
No, that's neat.
But I thought that was kind of cool. Like with online gaming, like they were trying
original.
They were trying before, and now
OG.
like Fortnite just calls Fortnite, PUBG, all these games like. That became a big thing. I was having trouble getting into those games, at least with the 2D form. Like, it doesn't matter where I'm at. I'm on a flat surface. Like, I'm just trying to jump on the sky.
It's also hard to pick those games up because people are now so good at those games. It's hard to just get on and have fun.
Yeah, you get killed and then you gotta wait. Go wait for another game or whatever. I'm not about my nephew Gage. That's up there. He's really good. Really good at those sort of games. I just can't do it. Well, anyways, do we have anything else to say about video games?
No.
Did we establish new or old?
Yeah.
Is it new or old?
More or less wanting your guys' opinions. I think I got it.
Fucking dog shit. That's what it is.
I like all gaming. I support all gaming, Nick.
Yeah,
I don't care what
all
it
games matter.
All games matter.
There you go. No, I think anything else to save it for part 2. The inevitable part 2.
Yeah, we'll actually get to talk football with you in the next one.
It'll be during the season, roughly, or pretty close.
Yeah.
We'll bring you back. Let's think maybe like September, like after week 1 or something like that.
You don't want me at the end of July.
Anyways, I got a shit for you guys.
Let's do it.
Excuse me. So Dylan, I don't know if you understand this concept. I feel like you've listened to enough of the podcast that you probably understand what this is.
It's pretty common sense, by the way.
Yeah. So legit or shit? Chainsaws, the horror movie murder weapon of choice, was invented to aid childbirth.
To aid childbirth.
Legit or shit?
I'm going with shit.
It sounds kind of shitty, but I'm sitting there trying to think, like, how could it be beneficial? Because I know before women used to go to nursing homes, hospitals to give birth, they used to grab trees and, like, hold the tree. I'm gonna go with legit.
Yeah. What is that?
You
Are you trying to
tree
say
down.
that they would cut down the tree
bro.
to get her to
I'm
the
just
hospital?
saying there's a correlation.
Is that what you're trying to say?
There's a correlation between childbirth and chainsaws.
Jesus Christ.
Look, if Nick's going shit, I'm going legit, bro. I'm just down with it.
Okay, so it is legit.
Yeah! Suck it, Nick!
Okay, so 2 doctors actually invented the chainsaw in 1780 to make the removal of the pelvic bone easier.
Exactly what I said.
Word for word.
Yeah.
Yeah, pelvic bone easier and less time consuming during childbirth.
What was
I'm
that?
not saying that's ethical. I'm just
What was
saying.
that chainsaw running on?
I have no idea. I guess we could Google that, but I've got a lot more bullshit for you. So here's a good one. The last letter added to the English language was not Z, or alphabet rather.
I'm going legit.
You said the last letter was not Z.
The last letter added was not
Was
Z.
not
To
Z.
the alphabet was not Z as in zebra.
I'm going to go with shit.
It's legit.
Oh man.
You
Feels
fucking
2
dog,
for 2.
bro. Get off my dick,
It was
bro.
actually J. They
Whoa,
were
leaving me out right there, isn't it?
J is in Jack, or Joyce.
Thank you.
So evidently they were using the letter I as J in place of J, and then they decided they needed a J. I don't know why.
Making an alphabet sounds hard.
Yeah, I'm sure that was
Come up with
ridiculous.
random like shapes that mean the sounds that
Have
you're saying.
pronunciations. Yeah.
Here's a good one. So the voice of Bugs and Lola Bunny actually got married in real life.
I'm going shit.
I'm going legit.
Dylan is 3 for 3.
Oh man,
it is shit.
We did not talk about this before the podcast.
But I will tell you, the voices of Mickey Mouse and the voices of Minnie Mouse got married in real
Dude,
life.
fuck them.
That's what I was thinking. I totally knew that.
Totally knew
Always
that.
the other one.
Yeah.
Here's a good one for you, boys. There are actually more McDonald's in the U.S. than public libraries.
I think that's legit as fuck.
I'm actually gonna agree and say legit.
Yeah, there's like multiple
Yeah.
McDonald's in towns, and there's not multiple libraries in most towns.
It is shit.
What?
It is shit.
Who
There's
goes to a library?
There are
anymore?
over 17,000 public libraries, and and this is based off of 2020, but there are only 13,673 McDonald's in the United States.
Where
there
are
are
all these
probably
fucking
more
libraries at?
overseas. I don't know.
So I'm sort of thinking there's probably 2 libraries.
There's generally
Wait, are they count-
a McDonald's in every town,
Are
but
they
there's also a
counting
library.
College libraries too.
Probably public.
Yeah, I didn't
if
think
it's
about that.
public, if
I didn't
it's
think
public,
about that.
What about college McDonald's?
if it's public, it counts.
Yeah, there's probably not a lot of those.
And I think this brings us to our last one. Is it illegal to own, it is illegal to own just one guinea pig in Switzerland because they get lonely?
It's got to be legit. Switzerland people seem very.
I'm
very
gonna
nice
say
about them.
shit.
It's legit.
God bless.
It's
4-1,
legit.
This was a
bro.
terrible,
4-1.
terrible day
Nick
for me.
was not too good at the legit or shit, but I think you and Lucas did good in the last one.
Yeah.
So make sure you follow Dylan Joyce on all of his social media.
It
I'm
is
sure you can
his
find
Facebook
him.
once again is Insomniac Designs. His email address, if you are interested in any of his work, is the DJ04, and that's all lowercase until you get to 04, obviously, at gmail.com.
Capital 04.
Yeah, capital 04. The DJ04 at gmail.com. And though he did say earlier that his podcasts are not active at the moment, you can still find them. It is the Antidote Podcast, which is the self-help podcast. Got about, 10 episodes? Something like that?
No, I think only like 7, dude.
Was it only that many?
Well,
Okay.
and
Well-
just to tell you, the more you listen to him, the more inspiration it might give him to bring it back.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And you can still find his movie podcast probably.
Under Insomniac Reviews.
Insomniac Reviews.
Sunday movie review, something like that. I
Yeah.
can't remember.
So but be on the lookout for more content from Insomniac in general, because the movie podcast, like you said, he does want to bring
I
that
have
back.
Insomniac.
So
I have that.
be on the lookout for that, and go be sure to follow us on Twitter at Get Disarranged. You can join our Facebook group. It's called the Disarrangement Podcast.
That's where we have the most fun. So
Yeah.
I understand if you don't use Twitter, but the Facebook group, we have a lot of fun in that.
All of our episodes come out every other Friday. So this Friday will be when this episode comes out. It's on Spotify, YouTube, Anchor, Amazon,
Amazon,
and
Google
Apple.
Podcasts.
So pretty much anywhere you listen to a podcast, you can find this podcast. So So
So Dylan, what we want to do, as you know, at the end of the podcast, we need I think Lucas adding his name into it made it nice. So I'm gonna need you to say, "Hi, this is Dylan Joyce," and get disarranged. Is that how he did it? Is that how Lucas did it?
Say let's get disarranged or something, or prepare to get disarranged or something like that.
Just get disarranged.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll just leave it at that.
Hi, this is Dylan Joyce. Let's get disarranged.
Nice voiceover. I'm gonna have fun with that one. So it's in July. It's been 2 weeks, and we'll see you in 2 more. Thanks. Hope y'all have a good night.
Said later, bitch.
July.
Prepare to get disarranged.